new, man?
What's that?
What's new?
Same old shit, literally. Well, actually, it changes daily, but it still smells and everything else, and the headaches stay the same. Yeah.
Alright, welcome to the June 19th, 2017 Water and Sewer Commission meeting. Anybody here to speak on the public forum?
I just had a question. If I have questions about the pump station, should I wait till that agenda item?
Please. I'll try to get down that quickly. We got warrants tonight, Steve?
Yes, we do.
That's what, Paul. You're in the end of the line, buddy. You can just ship them back.
All you need is the red, and just white things on the bottom, but you can stay right there.
Is this an extra?
Alright.
You said it'll be here later.
Press tonight, right?
Robin will be in, and she's been in and out, but she'll fill that.
You say you've been reading them off of this sheet, huh, not, and this corresponds, so,
You can do what you want, Mr. Paul.
no, as long as I don't have any problem with it. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following warrants. E.J. Prescott, $299.36. Cosgrove and Blatt, $54. KP Law, PC Legal Services for the brewery, $1,197.
Sound good, Paul.
I was just wondering, are we paying that, or is?
Yes.
We are, okay. E.J. Prescott for 6 3/4 meters at $150.99, totaling $905.94. Veolia for Comag, $9,868.71. Again, Veolia for effluent composite sampler, $3,981.60. Again, Veolia for polymer feed system, $3,276.92. Veolia for broken discharge pump, $4,178. And Veolia again for the generator, $3,359.36. In Veolia for SCADA, $7,252.91. And Veolia for second SSO, I guess $6,072.50. And the last one to Veolia is lab test for the pump stations of $352. Next, we have LaFord Electric for $560, and another one for a different grinder pump at a different location, again, $560. And the Pioneer Consulting Group for sewer rate analysis and study, $7,500. And I think that's it on. I don't know if we should make a separate motion for the lien or not.
What's the lien on?
J. Hammond Road, let me end it with that, and then I'll make a different motion.
Alright, we got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make another motion, to approve, a lien for review and signature on J. Hammond Road, $1,529.
May I
Yes,
add
sir.
something to that?
Sure.
2009, we voted a betterment of $8,200. If we remember, some of us were here then, they came back and appealed to the board, and it was reduced on 5, 9, 11, and 13 to $1,529. The only lien that they've got on file is the $8,200 that was signed. The one that was for $1,529 couldn't be found, so what I'm asking is to renew and sign this $1,529 so I can get it posted and they can enjoy the benefit of what they should be at, which is $1,529.
Is this the one where they had requested to tie in originally and they were denied, and then later on, they
Yes.
requested again and
Yes,
circumstances had changed, and now we allowed them, but in the
Yes.
meantime,
We
the
put 'em
betterment
on.
fees had gone up.
yes,
So they're looking for a rebate to what they would have paid
yes.
had they been allowed the first time to do it. Okay, I was get the right in my head. So that's the motion.
Second?
Any more discussion?
Nope.
Alright, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make another motion to approve the minutes of July 5th, 2017.
No.
No.
No,
No.
did I say July? Let's try June 5th,
I'll
2017.
take that. Alright,
Hasn't
got a
happened
motion.
yet.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Alright, any discussion on June 5th, 2017 minutes?
It's just, were we all there? Just wanna make sure.
I don't, we'd have to.
Because there's
go back
only a
and
couple
look here.
people here.
June 5th, Mackenzie, Berthium, Vaughn, Gagner, and Lemansky, we're all here.
Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Cool.
All those in favor of those minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We'll do your, is that all the warrants?
That's it.
You wanna start them?
Sure. That's for you.
Sure. A reminder to all sewer senior customers, July 1st, 2017 starts our new year. Please bring your completed senior discount forms with your identification materials to the wastewater treatment plant on or before June 30th, 2017. The high core unit is operational. We've had a quote outstanding for some $27,000 or $28,000 and $8,000 of labor. Project cost $35,785. I'm suggesting that this project be awarded and approved now in order for it to be paid under the 2017 budget. Reason being is, these that I'm reading were not anticipated for the 2018 budget, and if we can't pay them out of the 2017, the 2018 budget will suffer. The Headworks review and analysis, we've had an analysis on the table for some $20,700. I'm suggesting that this be approved and awarded in order to pay for this also under the 2017 budget. EQ tanks 2 and 3, we've had issues with that. We found that we've got pumps that are running 24/7 and they're screaming. Viola was in a couple of weeks ago now, they checked the valves are not working. We have a project cost and a labor cost of some $16,408. I'm suggesting we approve this and award this now in order to avoid this being charged against the 2018 budget. Comags 1 and 2. We have replaced one pump, we took it apart, there's been pictures at the plant. Some of you that have been to the plant have seen what this looks like. It looks like a shot blast had gone into a banana. It's just unbelievable. We've taken the second one apart, and it is equally as bad. I'm suggesting we buy a second pump. The third one needs to be looked at, needs to be reviewed, with the run hours being basically the same. I'm suspecting that the third pump is gonna be in the same situation. So I'm suggesting that we authorize buying 2 pumps so that we can get those rebuilt, put back on the
See,
system.
were all these pumps the same size?
Yes, and they're not, they can't be machined, they can't be rebuilt, they're gone. So they need to be replaced. The North Sturbridge Pump Station, we replaced a bad pump, intended to rebuild it and use it as a spare. The rebuild cost came in at roughly $5,000. We had priced new product, the new product on the market was $7,700.95, or $7,795. Viola had gone out and through their discount process, they had found a pump for $6,209, which is a savings of about $1,000. The 60-40 rule that we've been using to replace or rebuild is long overdue. The rebuild pump in one category, the new one, the rebuild is 80% of the new cost. In the other case, it's 63% of the new cost. I'm recommending that we authorize the purchase of a new pump at $77.95. The Burlingame Pump Station, we rebuilt a pump at $25,000. A new one was found at 51 grand. The last time we had a meeting, we actually had talked to Viola about doing some analysis of it. but the pump that's rebuilt, the one that's in the ground, has to be in the same condition. So something needs to be done with that pump, one way or the other. The ceiling fan, number 2 ceiling fan at the plant has quit. It quit since we made up the original document here that I read from.
This one.
We're in the process now of getting quotes to get up to the building in the air to remove the motor.
Is that
The
one of
motor-
those big ass fans?
Yes.
Not the-
The motor itself
Yeah.
is warranted, but the labor is on us. We're looking for an estimate. I'm guesstimating at this job, between the labor and whatever else, is gonna be between $2,000 and $3,000 for labor and staging. I'm asking that a vote be considered relative to the chairman to be able to approve and authorize this, because it won't be till July 10th that we meet again, and we'll be into the 2018 budget. Glenmere Road is going to be ground and surfaced in early July. The water gates, valves need to be serviced and blown out, and in some cases, may have to be repaired. I've taken the liberty to solicit 2 quotes now to see what that cost would be. But again, this is going to be done July 10th forward, so I'm looking for some support on this end to enable us to get this done and to put the work out and start it so it's done before highway has to move in there. Items sent in between meetings. The superintendent's job description has been sent out again. The elderly policy form and format has been sent out for your acceptance or rejection or edits. The warrants as of 6/13 were sent out. Minutes of 6/5 were sent out. I sent out a letter relative to KSE and the brewery for comparison relative to the inclusion of metals and other particulates that they talked about. The peer review of Kleinfelder's, the water main, that was sent out. The agenda was sent out. The beta update has been sent out. The MOR is being presented tonight, was sent out Thursday or Friday of last week. And the truck lease. The truck lease has been under building and rework since December. We finally got us together. There is a lease enclosed today for signature of the chairman, hopefully. So,
Truck lease, so.
yes, it's standard.
Oh, because we give it to the.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, yep.
Questions?
It's aggressive, Steve.
I know it's aggressive.
There's a lot of zeros after all this.
I understand that. Just for informational purposes, if we approve what we're talking about, we're looking at a balance in the budget of $153,768 for capital. In the O&M, you're gonna have a balance in the budget of $188,686
In this fiscal? Or
in this physical year. So what I've just given you right now is somewhere in the order of $35,000 or $38,000 total. As I say, none
a
of
lot more
these were
than that.
anticipated in the 2018 budget, and we're gonna be hurt by that much dollars that,
What'd you say his totals, Tom? More than that.
sorry, $78,139.78.
That was for everything? That was the fan and high core and?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's the summary that would, if approved tonight, that's what would come out of the budget numbers that I just read. So,
Minus the Burlingame pump station.
correct.
I got 3520 is 55
Correct.
plus 16.
The Burlingame Pump Station, Viola's here to speak about tonight because of questions that were asked at the last meeting.
So, all right, you want to do a quick priority on these? And we'll, I don't know. What do you think?
John or Keith, either one. Operationally, what's the priority between COMAG 1 and 2, EQ 2 and 3, and the high core? If you could prioritize them for us.
I mean, I have mine, so and then we'll see if you agree.
All right, then.
I think the high core is probably the first priority, because it's in a failed position.
Yep.
The screen is showing further deterioration. Yeah, I got pictures tonight. Keith's gonna include some good pictures for you.
Then the EQ tank.
And the EQ tanks,
Yeah.
again, because we need all 4 pumps, but we should
Yep.
only need 2. And then the third one was
The COMAG.
the
Comac.
Comac pump. That's the smaller of all 3.
Now, have you guys gotten through looking at all, I know I saw the pictures from the first one. The volute looked like someone gnawed at it, like a beaver gnawed at it.
Right,
Um,
we took the second one apart.
Did it look
The
the
brand new one that was purchased, we removed number 3 from
Yep.
the brand new one, and then we disassembled number 3, and it's the same exact scenario,
Okay.
regards to the volute and the impeller. And the gentleman that came in last week took a look at it, and he recommended calling another pump company that works with those types. And so I put a phone call in there, and hopefully a rep will come out and look at that to see what's going on, because we talked to a few other treatment plants that have that pump, and they do not have that issue. So, still on the troubleshooting stages to find out what's actually causing it.
Yeah, but the root and
Yes.
impeller in the condition it's in, there's little or
Correct.
no efficiency left in them.
No,
Yeah, the question is whether we replace in kind with, you know,
Right.
with a pump, which we know can't hold up to the environment that they're being asked to perform in. Or hold off and let a new pump vendor come in and recommend a replacement, different style. No guarantees that it's gonna last or
Right.
not be as impacted, but, you know, you gotta take a little bit of word and their word of warranty that they're offering. And it looks like it's just aggressiveness of the magnetite, just, right? I mean,
yeah, that's all it's,
we are not seeing similar impacts at the 2 other Comag plants that we operate. There, in Sturbridge, I know the issue they had was more with the seals and not with the actual impeller.
Mechanical seals?
Yeah. But here, we're seeing that slightly more aggressive nature of the system on those pumps. So priorities, the high core, because we know what happens when that fails, and it's just letting material pie, so it's gonna cause problems. It's not gonna
Further
get
down the
any
line.
better. Second would be the EQ tank pump, simply because we need all 4, we only have 4. If one were to fail, for whatever reason, now we're really behind the 8 ball in terms of, we know that the check valves have failed, we inspected those. We're optimistic that that is the issue why you need all 4. We do know that when the plant experiences high flow and the head changes in those EQ tanks, those pumps pump more, which lends itself even further that there's probably an issue with the check valve, keeping them from operating more efficiently.
What about, we're gonna spend a little bit of money, and I know this ain't standard practice, but what about building little pads and kicking them up off the floor? So, to get them a little out of the grit, you know, cause the grit is chewing them up, right? The pumps, the EQ
What-
pumps,
No, I don't think the pumps, well,
the
No.
EQ pumps actually are on a rail system.
Yeah.
And they have a base that keeps them off the bottom.
okay, so they're already off the Valkyrie.
But with the
Correct.
check
Check
valves and
valves,
failure, it just creates a big recirculator, essentially.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's not the pumps actually, it's the check
Check valves.
valves.
okay.
flappers.
Have you
and
guys
discharge.
come up with a means or method to isolate, or is that part of this figure?
The price you have there for the valve, you've got one figure for the valves, right?
Correct.
And we've got an estimate for the actual,
That's correct.
we've got a couple Veolia guys coming in next week to actually see if we can do this in-house and really reduce the labor expense, basic mechanics from the plant. Really, the issue is gonna be whether or not the EQ tank isolation valves work, which we're gonna be checking this week. If not, we're gonna have to bypass all.
Bypass pump, okay.
So, regardless, the pumps, the check valves and the valves, 6 weeks, 8 weeks
Yeah.
out. You know, the sooner we
Okay.
order them, the sooner they'll get here.
So what are you saying it's doing now? The pump's just pumping, you know, just pumping
Yeah,
through?
The check valve creates back pressure.
Yeah.
And when one pump is overcoming the other, it
Yep.
forces the check valve closer. It can't basically recirculate within
Yeah.
the system. Right now, the check valves have failed, so we really don't know what's happening. We just know that we've got 4 pumps which have the capacity, one pump has the capacity for the whole plant, and we need all 4 in order to keep the flow moving through. So there's
Yeah.
there's an
Okay.
inherent problem there. We think it's the check valves, particularly now because we've confirmed that they're failed. And check valves are key to how a pump operates.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Well, especially in a
it may
duplex
not
or
be
a
the
quadplex.
entire problem, but we know it's a problem, so it needs to be fixed. And right now, you're running 4 pumps, so all that energy is being wasted. You're wearing the pumps out.
Right.
You know, we only need 2, you're running 4, they're wearing themselves out. So there's just a lot of good reasons to just fix that problem. We're optimistic that that's gonna improve the pumping.
Well, wouldn't that help in the detention time too, for the bugs, if it wasn't always pumping?
No, what it'll do is it'll sustain the equipment longer.
Right.
It'll make it less efficient, it'll be more efficient, you're not gonna use as much energy, you're not gonna, you know, right now, we're using all 4 pumps, but you only need 2, so those impellers are wearing, you know, everything's just being used that doesn't need to be used. You can't alternate like you normally would do, they're just all on. And we know that it's not really the pump, because once the head increases, the pumps pump more capacity. We
So
know
it sounds like the pump's efficiency is pretty good.
Yeah, like if the pumps wanna do more, they're just being prevented because we believe the check valves are the issue.
Can you isolate each pump? Like they put shut-offs or they
Well,
just
those
check
are the
valves?
valves that are
That's,
included
that's
in
what I
the
was asking.
valve.
Last time this came up, that was the key thing.
Yeah, there's a isolation valve from the tank to the pump, and then there's a valve from the pump, for the pump, the check valve, and another valve, and all 3 of those are fed. So we
Okay.
couldn't even take the pump out if
Right.
we wanted to, without trying to plug the pipe up. Which is why we may have to bypass ultimately around them, so we can,
Get in there and,
Yep. What's that? That's all in that pit too, right?
yeah, and it's all subterranean.
and there's no sluice valves or anything to isolate the EQ tanks from one another. So if you,
There is, we just don't know the condition of them.
so if you did a test shutdown on any one of these and found that you did have isolation valves, you could start working from there back.
Right. You can
And,
keep one pump
Right.
online, one tank online and isolate the other tank. That would be we're hoping that we can do that.
okay, so there is isolation of sluice valves between
Right.
them. Okay.
Between 1 and 2.
And you said 6 to 8 weeks for parts.
For parts.
I believe it's
Okay.
It's been a while since I've looked.
When's the pump guy coming down for the Comac stuff?
hopefully this week, because the other one was here last week, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we brought the same guy that looked at Burlingame, looking at the Comac one.
Who's that?
Carlson Systems,
Carlson, okay.
He actually did the work at
Mugget Hill.
Margaret Hill. He had the same recommendation for Burlingame, we can talk about that when Keith gets into his presentation.
As far as the high court,
Want a motion on the high call?
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, to order the parts for $27,785 and accompanying $8,000 for labor, for a total of $35,785 to improve our high core operation.
Just real quick. So that we're doing the updates on the back, right? The back end of the high core unit.
Correct, the gear reducer, the
Yeah.
new spiral.
Yep, we're doing the update.
The existing one we have is no
Junk.
longer
Yep.
available, so we are getting a new gear reducer and a complete assembly down with the spiral,
And the
basket
screw.
and new wear bars.
Okay.
Alright.
So basically, it'll be rebuilt, the screen part of it, the grit is operating fine.
Okay.
Got a motion? Here,
Second.
Any more discussion? Alright, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Alright, so you can get that in on this one?
Yep.
Alright, and, if you can keep us abreast of where you are with figuring out the shutdowns for the EQ tanks, what you figure out for that? Alright. And North Sturbridge Road in Burlingame, that's gonna come up in Keith's report, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, North Sturbridge Road is just a pump that we're looking for a replacement.
Have you reached out for any quotes for the labor on the fan?
Yes, we're doing that now.
Okay, so that's all in progress. Alright,
EQ 1 and 2 and Comac.
So should we approve them now so they get into this budget? Because that's what Steve's
Yeah.
saying.
we kinda have, and if there's more to the EQ 2 and 3, then we'll deal with it after the new fiscal. At least, you need
You know you need all that
Parts.
stuff.
all the parts.
Yeah, the parts are what we definitely need. How we're gonna install it is a matter of how easy it's going to be to
Right,
isolate.
it depends on the shutdown and isolation points, okay. Alright. Take a motion on it, either one of these, or,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the following work for EQ 2 and 3 with the check valves and the parts project for a sum of $16,408.36.
We'll second that motion.
any discussion on it? Alright, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes.
And then, so what's the deal with the Comag? We had a pump down, or what?
The COMAG, we had the original one back in March that failed, and we purchased a new pump, we removed that one. And the inside of the volute is just wearing. The magnetite's just chewing up the insides of the volute. So when we got the new one, we pulled the other pump number 3, put the brand new one in, disassemble it, same scenario. And what happens when it loses its efficiency, the pump just runs at 60 hertz. It doesn't even ramp up or down, it's just trying to pump and it can't. So it's just scoring up the inside and wearing the power.
So we're looking to replace the spare, right?
Right. Well, we don't have a spare,
Right,
there's
yeah.
3 pumps that belong to the COMAG train.
We got 2 good ones and one in failed position.
Right.
Or do you think it's fair?
We have one brand new one and one that's worn, and the other one we don't have one in there because we got the 2 disassembled. So basically, right now, we have one brand new pump and one that we're keeping as a spare that needs to be replaced, so to speak.
So basically, if you bought 2,
We'd be 100%,
and then you'd run that, you'd still have a spare.
Right.
that's correct.
Makes sense. $9,000 each?
Yes.
98, closer to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, 19,737.
Yes. Right.
Is that just the pump, or is that labor too, or you guys
Just
do
the
it?
pump.
We
We put that,
in
we
Okay.
put it.
small ones.
Yep. All right, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the replacement of 2 pumps for the COMAG system, for COMAG 1 and 2. Individual pumps at $9,868.71 for a total of $19,737.42.
Second that motion.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Moving on, no Sturbridge Road.
What-
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I was gonna ask, what about the headworks now, and how does that differ from
That
what
was
the
a
High
study.
Corps is gonna be doing?
Just
The headworks is a study.
Study.
Oh, that's, oh,
It's like it's-
okay, okay,
That makes
okay,
it-
never
The
mind.
headworks review.
Yeah, I see, in a review and an
Yeah.
analysis project, all right.
Plug in at some point down the line,
Yeah.
know how much
Yeah.
more you
The,
need.
the engineers take a back seat to pump them.
Okay, I'm all set with that.
So,
All right,
And then,
you're on North Sturbridge.
do you wanna just approve no Sturbridge? And then, cause what, you just need a spare pump for that?
Correct. We do not have a spare. We replaced one back in November. Sent the one out to be evaluated that we had removed, and it's $4,000-something
Yeah.
for a rebuild, and it's $6,000 for a new one.
Is that one crossed any with the other pump
No.
station? No, it's a single,
It's a dedicated to North
of
Star.
course. So, alright, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve to buy a replacement pump for North Sturbridge Road Pump Station. What's the lag time on one of those pumps?
That one's 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay, at a price of, you new or used, I say just go new.
Just 6209, right? We'd
Yeah, for
get a new
$1,000
one,
bucks,
yeah.
just get a new one.
Yep.
Buying the new pump at $6,209.
Second that motion.
any discussion on?
Mr. Chairman, question. Keith, what's the horsepower of that pump?
10 horse.
It's a 10 horse. Okay. And do you usually have a couple different people that you try to price these pumps out with?
Normally we do, yes, but that one is a sole vendor. Carlson Systems is the vendor for ABS Salsa. So you're going through the local rep to maintain the same pump.
If I may,
You're gonna get the best price from that vendor.
Rob, I just spec'd out a 3 horsepower and it was $4,000.
Yeah, so,
I
so
mean,
you-
this is 10 at 6.
okay. And so what you're saying is it's proprietary? That pump is proprietary to the system that's down there? It's
That's
the only
correct.
pump we can put in?
Well, it's
Quote
providing that there's
them
only
down.
one
That's not a
rep
bad price.
that represents that pump manufacturer. In other words, they exclusively have arrangements with reps for their equipment, right? So-
Correct.
So Carlson System is the rep for Schultzer pump, which is the pump you have in there.
Okay.
To replace it with a different pump manufacturer, you go to a different rep, but as we will discuss at Burlingame, you can do that, but you may get a cheaper pump, but now you've got a lot more expensive
Right.
retrofitting.
Mhm.
And then now you've got apples and oranges, and which platform you're gonna So, you know, you pretty much have to stay with Schultzer, and you have to go through the rep that represents Schultzer for that replacement.
Or change the plumbing.
Correct.
And that's what John's referring to, all the retrofit that goes along with switching out just the pump. You end up spending the money
Yeah,
that you would've saved.
Yeah, you'll see when we talk about rolling.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
We did what you asked us to do, which was
Right.
get another pump manufacturer in there, and yes, you can get a cheaper pump, but when you go through all the retrofit, it's the same price.
Yep.
And now you're faced with an apples and oranges, and which way you're gonna go when that next pump decides to go. So, but we'll talk a little bit more about it.
Okay, all right, fine, Mr. Chairman, I'm all set, thank you.
Alright, any more discussion? We're gonna motion in a second, right?
Yep.
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes. You said you were talking about Burlingame in your report, right, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. Is this on here? You wanna do the lease now?
Sure.
So this is a lease for the truck?
Yes,
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
room for one signature, so there's a motion required that the chairman can sign on behalf of the Water and Sewer Commission.
I'd like to make a motion that we have the chairman sign on behalf of the lease for the truck to Veolia.
Second that.
Alright, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Make a motion to have the chairman sign on behalf of the commission relative to the equipment lease with Viola. Did we already do that?
That's what we just.
Then we just did.
That's what we just did.
I thought we were voting the lease.
Oh, no.
No,
No.
We already voted the lease?
It's part of, it was part of the contract.
part of the contract.
Okay.
It just never got signed,
Okay.
so.
What, oh, you mean the equipment lease never got signed?
Right,
Yes.
it's just the physical signature.
Sorry. I thought we were voting on the lease here for the dollar.
Okay.
Okay, did
Man
you,
gets right down to business. Just gets in there, he's
Thank you.
already on the
That's good.
ball, ready to
Just
go.
jumping right
I like
in.
it.
Yeah.
do you need, Mr. Chair, if I could ask Mr. Vonlin if we need, do we have money for the big ass fans to fix it? We're
Yes.
still getting
Another one
prices,
has
or,
to say it.
I know we're looking to try to get it set up to how to do it.
Right, and the motor was under
The motor was
warranty.
under warranty, but do you need something tonight on that budget to get that in motion?
If it's gonna exceed my limit of $2,000, then I need authorization or Alec to be commissioned to sign on behalf of the commission. I estimate the cost by the time I get through with rigging and whatever, it's gonna be between $2,000 and $4,000, so. Yes, I need a backup or a vote that will allow Alex to sign on behalf of the commission if it exceeds $2,000.
So be it, be that the motion,
Okay?
and,
Second.
okay,
Any discussion? Alright. Hearing none, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Let me know when you get that in.
Absolutely.
Some good pictures of how there's a big storm coming through. My wife just texted me, she goes, this is what's coming your way.
Alright, Keith, if you wanna step up and go through your report. And it's-
There were no safety accidents or incidents on the health and safety, and the monthly safety checklist was done. We completed our online training for the month of May. In regards to compliance, there were no MPDES permit violations for the month of May. The plant performance reports were patched. And the week of May 15th was the toxicity sampling was conducted. So the results will be in shortly. And in regards to operation and maintenance activities at the treatment plant, the annual fire extinguisher inspections were completed, they all passed. And on COMAG system number 2, the waste sludge valve with a servo motor on it failed. So the valve would not move with the flow of what was coming into the COMAG system. So that had to be removed from COMAG train number 1 and installed on number 2, and we had a brand new one ordered. So the new one came in, it's gonna be installed on COMAG train number 1. On EQ tank number 2, the level sensor for the pump operations failed. We ordered a new sensor. And then the pH controller and probe for the effluent caustic chemical feed pump was upgraded. The other one was old and we were getting too many different readings, fluctuation, so now we're in good shape. And then we discussed the COMAG pumps already on the 3 of them. And we also had discussed that we had confirmed that the check valves were not working properly in the EQ tanks. And in regards to maintenance and extended life, we changed the RBCs over to a royal purple synthetic grease for the shaft bearings. So you get a longer life, less friction, less heat. So it'll help with the maintenance on the RBCs. In regards to the PLCs for SCADA system, the new UPSs were installed after we lived through the situation with the COMAG one that failed. We checked the dates, we could not find dates on the existing UPSs in the SCADA system panel. And there was only one being utilized, the other one was sitting idle, that was out of service. So we got 2 brand new ones in, and it keeps the SCADA system at 100%.
That's the UPSs?
Yes.
PLCs?
I'm sorry, it's the UPSs,
The
excuse me, power supplies for
Yep.
the SCADA system.
Okay.
And all the weekly and monthly preventative maintenance work orders were completed. And also the weekly generator full load exercise was completed with no issues. We discussed the parts already for the high core, but I had attached an updated picture where it had actually worn through the basket screen now. So now that the parts are approved, that will be resolved when we get the parts in. So in a matter of roughly 7 weeks, it's actually worn through the basket. And we discussed the repairs. And we covered grit going through the manual bar rack, if that was what we had to use. In last month's MOR, I gave some different types of updated technology that's out there. I did hear back from one with Smith & Lovelace, and it's approximately $375,000 for a package unit, which would bring in, set it, connect the inlet, discharge, and then power. Still waiting on the other 2 vendors and see what they present for a price, but that's an approximation, is $250,000 to $450,000. That's just for the unit, not installation, construction prep of the area. And pump station activities, all the station alarms were tested and completed, no issues. Same thing with the weekly full load generator runs at the pump stations. On May 3rd is when the Burlingame Road pump number 1 failed, and we're under emergency conditions. So they called AEM, Associated Electromechanics. They came out right away, pulled the pump, found that the pump was bound up. There was nothing blocking the impeller, anything to that situation. So the pump was removed, brought to their shop, and upon disassembly, on the second set of pictures, shows the failed bearing on the lower end of the pump, which entailed what happened when the bearing failed. It caused the mechanical seal to fail, which also damaged the shaft sleeve. So parts had to be ordered. They are not stock shelf items from flight. So it was approximately a 2 to 3 week to even get the parts so the pump could be rebuilt. I should have an update tomorrow. I spoke with the company last Friday, and they were just waiting on one other part to come in. So hopefully it will be in good shape, get the pump back together, get it out here, and get it installed. Now that brings up the next question that was talked about when it was brought up, that it's $51,000 for a new pump for Burlingame. And the question was asked last month to look at other technology or what can be done. Carlson Systems is the same company that took care of Muggard Hill when that station got upgraded to submersibles and the piping, which went to 4-inch pumps that are 27 horsepower. Now, Muggard Hill is only 145 feet ahead that those pumps are pushing over to Old Worcester Road. Burlingame Road is 195 feet ahead, and you would have to do the same thing. You would have to have a full conversion in the wet well to go to those same style pumps, but they have to push 195 feet ahead, and you're going from 4-inch to 6-inch. They don't offer that pump in a 6-inch size pump. So you have to look at all the construction that's gonna have to be taking place, bypass pumping. All this is gonna be quite an expense.
Yeah, we actually, keep, flip them around, you go from a 6-inch to a 4-inch pump. The pump price is about half as expensive as
Correct.
the 60 horsepower, so you're absolutely right, you could get a cheaper pump, but when we priced up installation and retrofitting, that was an additional 25 to something thousand, wasn't it?
When Muggard Hill was done, it was over 100,000.
No, I thought you had some price from Carlson.
Carlson was $30,000 just for the pumps and rails.
So,
I'm sorry, Keith.
yeah, so when you convert to a smaller diameter pump, less expensive pump, you have to change all the infrastructure, and that adds all that cost. So you could definitely replace a 60 horsepower pump with a lower horsepower, less expensive pump. But when you add in all the additional work associated with retrofitting it, like Muggard Hill did, it basically makes it more expensive than just replacing the 60 horsepower motor pump. You still may want to do that, but now you would have a situation where you've got one 4-inch and one 6-inch, right?
Right.
And then should one of them fail at some point 10 years down the road, you retrofit the other one to the 4-inch, or, you know what I mean? You'd have a...
So basically what you're saying is you're gonna make either a capital improvement, do it all, and go that route, or
Or at
buy
least,
another pump and just,
At the
yeah,
time being.
I mean, right now, you'd have a situation if we did, yeah, I mean, you'd have to make a commitment which way you wanted to go.
That's what I mean.
If you wanted to make the commitment to go with the smaller horsepower, less expensive pump, it would be more expensive in the interim, because it would cost more to retrofit it. And then ultimately, you'd have a situation where you've got one pump at 4-inch, one at 6, you don't have a spare for either. So if and when something would happen, you'd have to potentially replace one with a spare of one style and the other. And then if one did fail, say the 6-inch ultimately failed 10 years down the road, then you'd have to make the same decision, do you switch that one over to 4-inch?
And the force mains, 6-inch currently?
Yes, it is.
All the way to where it's discharged?
Correct. Actually, a manhole out front here.
The manufacturer did say that the retrofit would work, and that the 4-inch pump could handle the head,
Right.
could tap into the 6-inch force main without any issues, and save energy, obviously, if it's only a, what's the horsepower?
27.
27 versus a 60.
So, the replacement pump is 51,000?
New, right?
For the existing pump that's in there, the flight pump
In-
is
in kind.
51,000, yes,
just for the pump.
just for the pump.
That's for new. What's the,
That's brand new.
what's the repair cost of the one we're doing now?
25,
The
26.
repair one is 25 right now, that's out there.
So potentially, we could reduce the repair cost of the existing one, because the reason this one's expensive is because it failed catastrophically.
Right.
Wiped everything out inside of it. If we were to be proactive, given that both pumps are as old as they are, have been running as much, the same amount of time, the other one's probably not far behind where this one is. If you were proactive in fixing it or rehabilitating it before it failed,
Right.
that
Getting it
25,
Yeah, a lot less.
it'd be less money.
Getting it dipped and everything else.
Yeah,
New seals.
right, we probably wouldn't damage the shaft sleeve and,
Right.
and all that, so. It's like if we wait till it fails, it's more expensive to fix it than if we proactively, rehab it.
And time-wise, excuse me, this would be the time to do it because the school's out, so.
Now, Keith's original idea was, because you still don't have a spare, he would recommend replacing the non-failed pump, the only pump we have right now, with a new one. then send that other one out for a rehabilitation, and then you would be set up where you've got a rebuilt pump, a brand new pump, and then a rebuilt pump on the shelf.
So after rebuilding two and purchasing a brand new one, you've got 3 functioning pumps for the price of 2 brand new ones.
Correct. And, you know, another 20 years worth of service.
Can any of these pump match up to any of the other ones we have?
These things.
No, these are solely dedicated to the Burlingame
And they're
pump
huge.
station.
No, not the 60 horsepower, the new
Oh.
ones.
I don't think so. I mean,
You know, same manufacturers, you know what I'm saying, so basic,
the Carlson
The
pump.
Carlson pumps that
Yeah.
are in Muggert Hill will be the same as Burlingame.
Okay, that's a good question.
So
so.
yes, he said the same pumps that are Muggert Hill will be in Burlingame.
Okay, well, that,
Yeah, no, that's a
it's good, so if we got one spare, we got, you know, at least a
You
couple
can support
stations.
2 stations.
That would have to be the
encumber all
upgrade.
the other costs of retrofitting.
Correct.
What I was saying, if they have one being repaired now, when that comes back in, send the other one out to be repaired and purchase a brand new one. You have 3 pumps with a backup for that station for the cost of 2 brand new pumps. So you'd never be put in this situation again.
Actually, if, just to go over the numbers, to replace the 60 horsepower pump, it's $51,000.
That's correct.
Brand new.
Okay, to rebuild one pump, it's 25,000.
It was 25,000 for the simple fact that it went into a failure condition where you damaged the shaft, you
Right.
damaged the
Okay,
shaft.
okay, so
And
let's,
if we're in the proactive state, I can't make
I'm doing
an
rough
estimated
numbers, Rob.
quote.
no, I'm doing rough too, okay.
But it's
So
gonna be
that's
less than.
50
It's gonna be less than
It's
$25,000.
Because it's gonna be mechanical seals, redipped.
Call it 12 grand, okay, and none of that, none of that includes the labor.
The
We're only talking equipment, correct?
The $25,000 for the pump that's being rebuilt right now is
Yeah.
labor included in that.
For taking it out and putting it back in?
That's all included in that one.
That's all included. But
That
to-
was already, yes, that was
But to
part of it.
replace the existing pump, we're gonna have to add some labor onto that.
That's correct. They're gonna have to
Put
come in with a
place.
crane, pull it out, and electrician will have to
Right,
disconnect it.
and same thing with the current running one, which we'll have to pull it out and put it back in.
Correct. Well,
Okay.
no, if we
No,
purchase a brand, the scenario is to buy the new pump,
Okay.
install the new pump,
Right,
remove the existing one that's in there, and the one that just got rebuilt is gonna go in there. So you would
Correct.
have a brand new pump, the one that just was remanufactured, and then the pump that came out last, you have it rebuilt, that's your
okay,
spare.
so that's,
You'll have a total of 3 pumps complete, and you'll have a rebuilt standby.
right, so that would be one brand new one at 51,000, one rebuilt at 25, and we can estimate the other one, call it 10, just
10,
for
right,
easy
whatever.
numbers. 25, 35, so that's $87,000. If I may ask, the piping in there, is it iron pipe? What kind of pipe is in there?
That's ductile iron, the iron pipe and what.
Now, when we redid.
Schedule 80, we did it 3 times.
Yeah.
Finally, when
they
Alex
replaced it with
authorized
ductile.
DI, right,
Okay, because of
Because
the
all
of the
those
torque.
silly,
yes.
The torque was blown off, and
those
also,
silly plastic checks and ball valves they had in there.
right, now, I don't know if any stanchions were put in there, but, and getting back to those 25 horsepower pumps, are you saying we spent $100,000 on pumps at Muggett Hill?
The
No.
replacement,
No, I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
go ahead.
The pumps were $30,000, and then the documentation that Steve had sent up to me, and the whole package with the construction and installation was approximately $110,000.
For the plant, for the
Oh,
pump station.
Oh, for the pump station.
But that was, I
Okay,
believe,
right, so.
a new wet well, we raised
Oh,
the whole
yes,
thing up,
yes.
put
No, there was a
fencing,
lot
the
of work
control
done.
panel.
So if we go back, is the 30 grand for the pumps, that was for 2 pumps,
Yes,
2 pumps, okay, so that's 15 each. All right, and again, we had that company, the company came out of Connecticut
Carlson Systems,
to do, is that where they out of?
yes.
All right, who ended up doing the piping? Do you remember what the
We-
Carlson bill was?
we had the first one redone under warranty. The second one was done under warranty because they anchored off the wall, and that's what they figured shared them.
Okay,
We finally, the third time, that's when we ended up changing things over. They changed the anchor points, and we went to DI pipe from the Schedule 80.
Right, but nothing happened to the pumps though, did it?
No,
They-
the pumps,
they just
no,
broke-
it was the
they
anchor
just broke-
points and the
broke
piping.
loose. Right. I know for me, before I would consider doing a final vote on here, I'd wanna get more of a hard budget on what it would do to convert these things over. Because the discharges now, we would be going from 6-inch to 4-inch. And also, these pumps, they build them at the factory. That head can be increased without a problem. At Bay Path, I mean, at the Mucket Hill, I don't think we needed anything greater than the 145 head that was there. But it's not very difficult to get up to 250 for these pumps.
No, I mean, the Carlson rep that did Mucket Hill said that the pumps that they're speccing would achieve that head.
They'd be able to achieve it.
Without any problem.
Right. I'm having a real problem with buying 2 brand new pieces of equipment, and they're not even in the ground yet, and it's $102,000. That's where I'm
I
having
just
a
come up
real.
with 102 from 80.
Because
Six.
if we were to buy 2 new ones,
51 and 51.
because don't forget that
We
one we
weren't
want.
talking about buying 2 new ones though.
Well, no, but we're gonna rebuild two others.
It'd be a
Rebuild
new
one of
and
them, one of them's already been
Right,
rebuilt.
one's been rebuilt, and it would just be,
Yeah, I didn't know we were spending the money to rebuild that pump, the one that failed. I thought we were gonna limp until we figured out what we were gonna do.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna agree with Rob, I don't know if we approved to fix it. Did we fix it already?
Yes.
Again, I'd have to see the vote, but I would rather see us, first of all, I guess, can we go way back to, do we know what the flow is there? Based on the properties that are connected?
I would have to check the runtime hours in the program.
Well, the rundown, if we were to do it by Title V, I thought that's part of this little study that we talked about.
Yeah, we don't know it off the top of our head, but I'm sure we can get some research and find out what the flow is.
Right,
there.
and what size tank is there as far as a holding tank?
Not sure of the dimension of the well.
Yeah, and, I mean, is it 3-phase electricity there?
Yes.
There's 3-phase. Amperage, is it 440, 550?
I would have to get that information. for
Okay,
you.
because these are the things that, in fact, we're gonna order a pump, they'd want to know, and this is why the pump guy's involved.
Yeah, he's already been out. He actually came out already and did his analysis.
And,
Well, we don't have his installation costs.
And if in fact we were going to refit this, then we wouldn't be locked into one specific maker of a pump.
Well, each pump style has its own flange connections, its own rail system.
Right.
I mean, that's the issue.
until
we
something
have.
happened with those pumps, you're still locked, I mean, it's
So-
gonna be brand specific.
So the problem now is, if we already rebuilt this pump, you gotta, I hate to say it, you're kinda committed that way.
And I'll be honest, you know,
Which, it's not bad,
you
it's,
may think you can limp along, but
Yeah.
given the condition of the pump that failed and that they're exactly the same age and
That's the
exactly the
point.
same environment, you could have a catastrophe on your hands.
I mean,
tonight, you know,
'cause-
you know, if that pump goes down, we've got nothing.
cause I look at it as, let's just say it's $100,000, right, either way. I would be in favor of putting the same pumps we had at Muggett Hill and pay for the retrofit, and you could probably buy a third pump, you know what I mean, and cover everything.
Look, yeah,
But-
you're absolutely right. I mean, if you had a situation where doing a retrofit makes 2 stations equal,
Yep.
and then you can share parts, yeah, I would agree that's.
But if we already spent 25,000 to repair one, you're behind the 8 ball, and you might as well just stick with like what Alex said.
But I think the 25,000 at least has, I mean, I obviously prevented an environmental problem, which.
Correct, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just
But I think
saying,
it gives you time to make some further discussions, because now we can do some more research into what actual install costs would be. So who knows what it's gonna, I don't know what the budget would be for new rails, new ductile,
Because
bypass pumping, et
if
cetera.
I'm not mistaken, this comes under sole source. If you get into $100,000 where you're looking at retrofit, now you're into a bid process,
Yeah.
which changes everything.
I think you'd want to.
Well, you have to by law,
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
through the
what's-
procurement laws.
If we go over $100,000, that's.
Well,
what
no,
we-
right now you're in a sole source situation,
Replacing kind, yeah.
because you're replacing in kind.
Yep,
So, but once you start talking about retrofitting and changing things, as you are, now it's gonna be an An RFP, right up through the bid process.
Okay. And the
No,
bid
you're right,
process
Chairman.
isn't necessarily bad.
I'm not saying it is,
Yeah,
Rob.
yeah.
No, but now you're bringing in engineers and.
Yeah.
Now you're putting something out on the street for bid.
Well, okay, and you kind of lean on your pump people to do most of that work for you.
It still have to be
No, no.
something stamped and,
The current pump configuration is they're duplex to where they alternate one off, one on.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And they're all three-phase. You know, if we're already, if we've already committed to rebuilding that one pump, I would like to see us convert at least half of the station over to a pump, the proper pump that belongs in there, which certainly isn't a 60 horsepower. Has that determination been made, that there's no need to put a 60 horsepower in there?
We had Carlson Systems come out, evaluate that they can do the same job with a 28, 27?
27.
Approximately half,
horsepower.
probably half the horsepower.
And a 4-inch diameter instead of a 6
Right.
inch.
Right, so what we would do is we would be going and taking half that pump station, putting in a pump identical, almost identical, other than the head, to what we have over on Mulligat Hill. All right, because we'd be working towards having things that can go left and right and up and down. And we've already repaired that one, we put the other one on the shelf, and I see us eventually, when the other one finally goes, is we would certainly have the one that we've taken out, that's currently running right now, that's what, 15, 16 years old?
18.
It's 18 years old, so that would limp us through until we can order another pump and then convert them both to be the 4-inch pumps, without spending, you know, the additional dollars.
yeah, but you're still talking about converting one side of that station to meet that one pump.
Correct. And because that, I would think that our goal would be to totally convert it, because we've got to get away from these pumps that cost $51,000 each, and that includes no labor, and you need you need a crane to pull the thing out.
Hey, I got a couple of new EQ pumps for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have quite that head, I don't know what the head.
Yeah, no.
The station, the whole station will have to be shut down to convert the one
Right.
side. However long it takes them to make the conversion from
So you're
6
talking
to
about
4, you're gonna be
pumping.
bypass pumping,
Yeah,
however
so
long it takes them.
What you're gonna do, that's part of the job.
Oh, I understand, I'm just
Yeah.
making you aware of it,
Yeah.
that the station's
And
gonna
that's
be
why
down.
we said the best time to do that is while the school's out, because I think they probably would have to look at their water bill. I don't think their water bill's more than 3,000 to 4,000 gallons a day, and the rest are homes. So are you saying that starting from the town hall, gravity-wise, it all goes to Burlingame Road?
There's gravity that goes from the intersection down, the force main comes right up to the front.
Okay, so gravity starts at the intersection of Burlingame Road
Correct.
and then goes down. What is there? 12 houses, 15 houses on
Right
there?
here, Rob.
Yeah, I wouldn't say much more. Less than 20 homes.
Less than 20 homes.
No, we can get the dimensions of the wet well.
No, I don't,
And then we can
again,
determine
I
flow.
think we
Is
gotta.
this something you guys in Carlson could design in-house, or do the build in-house? Not in-house, but you guys,
The pump, you know, Ms. Lemansky's correct, the pump manufacturers can, you know, they're all PEs, you know, the
Yeah.
Carlson gentleman is a PE. I mean, he could design the system based on the, the original concept for the station, you know, head elevation, flow, capacity requirements. So they could definitely do all that and basically, you know, certify it,
okay.
you know.
So is the pump that's been rebuilt, has that already been reinstalled?
No.
No, we haven't got it yet. They're still waiting on one more piece.
How long have we been without, down to one pump?
Since May 3rd.
And no analysis has been done of the existing pump, or just seals or whatever, okay?
Correct.
We couldn't,
So if we
when
take the
this one
fif-
failed, they pulled it up, they didn't find an obstruction, which we originally
Right.
thought maybe it was. They only determined this once they separated it.
So you could essentially put the rebuilt pump in, take the 51 grand off the table, and send the other one out to be rewound, new seals and whatnot, and
Yeah.
still have two functioning pumps for,
Yeah, you could run with just the one main pump for, as long- you know,
because you guys have been doing that for the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 weeks.
It's an uncomfortable situation.
No, I
It can be
realize
done.
that,
It
but
can be
being
done.
that the school's not in session right
But,
now.
but I'll say this too, on the same token, if you only got, I don't know, let's say 3,000 to 4,000 gallons a day of flow there, 5,000 tops. It's pennies on the dollar compared to a $50,000 pump, even if you paid a pump truck to
Yeah,
come there once
just
a
a pump
day.
down there.
You know what I'm saying? It's, I'm not saying you can run it for months, but you could run a couple weeks there, God forbid.
Yeah, I mean, if, you know, if you ultimately end up with 2 rebuilt pumps,
You're still in a better place than you are today.
right, and
Mhm.
you're less, 2 rebuilds are less than 1 new one.
And turnaround time on, because that one had the shaft bent and everything else on it,
Yeah.
so. The
We
turnaround
won't know
time
what they
is
need to
much
order
less.
until they get it apart, but we suspect it won't be more than this one.
Right.
But it'll be less.
So what do you say now? It's just take this rebuild swap, get the other one built, rebuilt, and then
Yeah.
kind of go from there.
the two,
and then-
and if there's need for discussion about
And then,
changing the station over, instead of haphazardly switching half of it out, which is kind of counterproductive in the long run, because you should just do it all in one fell swoop or one project, instead of splitting it up. Go down that road, it's still cheaper in the long run. Because if you're looking at
So it's-
25, 26 for this, and say 10, 12 for the other one, tops, to get rebuilt, but it shouldn't be that much. If it's just seals and whatnot, you're into it for less than 40 grand.
So we're talking about Plan C. Okay, which, well, again,
That's
it's
a good
good, that's what
Yeah.
we're here for, is to throw it out there and see which we're gonna, which way serves us best and serves our ratepayers.
And I think that's the best way to go about it at this point, until more information come back about.
Right, it is the most economical, but I think we're putting off what's gonna need to be done sooner or later. The rebuilds, if they last half the life, they'll give us 9 years. So in 9 years, 8 to 9 years, gonna be right back here, reconsidering the same thing. I will not be here 9 years from now, I promise.
no, but at
Okay.
least it might
Yeah.
buy you 3 or 4 years to budget it in and.
Yeah, okay. Again, why don't we let them do their work and then come back with a final, and we'll make the decision next meeting with more information?
We don't even need to.
Whatever you
Right.
want to do.
Yeah, the only thing we can do is we can further explore what a full conversion cost would be.
Okay.
Which we can, we can bring the pump guy out and say, hey, just give me an estimate. They won't give you a hard number, because if it does have to go out to bid, they
Right,
don't want their number on
I-
the street, you know what I mean?
I
But give
understand.
us an order of magnitude.
Because it takes them out of the equation. to
Right,
bid
if
on.
they designed it, they can't bid on it. So, yeah, but we'll give you an order of magnitude for a complete conversion over to 2 4-inch, similar to Mugget Road. And then you'll have that in your back pocket. And then down the road, you can make a decision whether you want to proactively fix the one that we know is aging when the other one comes back.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Anything else?
Yeah, we still have to finish our report.
Okay.
We're on,
Yep. Pump station 3, we had the phone line fail again. It's the second time. That's the South Sturbridge Road, right at the end of 169 across the street. Verizon came out, repaired the line, and the alarm dial was back on 100%. And the MTAs were sampled on May 14th and May 30th. And collection systems activities. Yeah, grinder pump calls seem to be increasing. There's a warm season here, everybody's coming in for their summer cottages or homes on the lakes. We had one at 88 Glen Echo Shore, reset the breaker, tested the system, was fine. Also one at 146 Glen Echo Road, the pump was pulled, inspected, found an issue with the ball check was replaced, and the pump was tested okay. And we also had another one at 56 Lake Drive. The pump failed and had to be upgraded. There were no parts for the old system. And then also, 128 Sunset Drive. We had debris and tested the pump cycle after it was removed. And then we also, on 22 Hollywood Drive, reset the breaker. on that one, tested it, and the cycle was fine. We had one sewer tie-in inspection on Lot 2, J. Hammond Road. And for the month of May, we marked out 24 dig safes. And that would complete the monthly report. And then again, the pictures are there is to show the bearings, the shaft, and the sails that failed on the pump.
Mr. Chairman, question?
Mm-hmm.
Keith,
Yes, sir.
I noticed on these pump calls, there was one to where debris had to be removed, so that sounds like a clogged impeller.
That's correct.
Are you having many of those? Well, first of all, let me ask you, was that on a new pump, or was that on one of the old systems?
I would have to ask the operator that went out.
Okay,
We document it as a grinder pump call,
right, but
and then it's noticed, if it's an older system and there's an issue, then it's brought up and documented and given to Steve. If it needs to be upgraded, that's when it goes to Steve.
What I'm getting at is these new pumps we put in were touted, and also, we believe it to be true,
Yes.
that there's less clogging with our new pumps, so I think it would be worth.
Going forward, I'll make sure it's
Oh,
documented,
that'd be
whether it's
great,
an
Keith.
old system or a new
Okay,
system.
And on this
And-
one, we'll ascertain that as well.
Yes.
Okay, again.
So going forward, I will document that in the report also.
We're still getting grease issues, even in the new pumps, because it clogs around
Sure.
the flow. Okay.
Yeah, so the grease issues would cause the flow problems.
Yes.
Right.
But yes, going forward, I'll make sure that's in the report.
All right, anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
All right. Anybody have any other questions?
I guess with the amount of rain that we just received, I know when I was walking in, the Charlton City was pretty flooded, so that may be an issue at the plant.
Well, I haven't gotten a call
Oh,
yet.
yeah, okay. good.
Not yet.
Hope you don't get one. Hope you don't get one. I think it was, just a quick flash, and hopefully it's in and out. So,
Not to knock on wood, but we've made some substantial improvements to the SCADA system. It's not in Keith's report, but we seem to have come a long way on the communications issues that had plagued the plant for a long time. Specifically, what,
The last one was the Headworks PLC had a inline surge suppressant that was there for the Cat 5 cable that connects to it. That had actually failed, and well, when it heated up, it would fail, and that's what was giving us that nuisance alarm saying it was a communications failure.
Mm-hmm.
In last month's report, I had talked about electrical maintenance service. They put in these counters, so when the PLCs would talk. And that's how he had determined that the communication problem was with the Headworks building, because it had so many extra counts that it was trying to communicate and it couldn't. So when we got the additional alarm, he was able to trace it to Headworks, and we removed the inline interrupter, and we got the communications back, and going forward from that day, we haven't had any communication alarms, so.
And you haven't had any issue with the PLCs backing up like they did that one time?
No,
right? So there's,
so, a lot of headway made on all
And
those.
you guys haven't had any trouble getting any replacement parts for any of the PLCs?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
and we do have the generator run alarm now and everything, so we've made some pretty substantial improvements to the overall health and viability of that SCADA system, so.
Is there any way with the new high core that an alarm can be tied to SCADA for failure?
Of the high core?
Hmm.
Well, we do, if you get a high level, or there is an equipment failure for an alarm that comes out, it does say high core unit failure.
Okay, so
And
there's
then
one
there's
in place.
also.
I know there's a float,
Excuse me?
there's a float you guys installed, right?
Right, there's a float, but there's an actual alarm for the high core failure. Then there's a high level inlet to the high core, low level on the discharge, and then we also have the float in the sump pit.
Right, okay.
And I did review with electrical maintenance services about revisiting getting the high level float and a high in the underground tank, as you had asked.
Okay.
So we're gonna end up having to run conduit from the underground tank to the Headworks building and tie it into the SCADA that way.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
So that will take care of having the alarm system for the underground tank.
'Cause that way
If it
even
was to fill up.
Even if groundwaters get in there, at least you know you can pump it
Yes,
over. So you
absolutely.
have that bit of room if
Yes.
need be.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, have a good evening.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you guys.
Do you need to hang around? Hold on. Any discussion on anything further?
No, I think we're good for the moment.
Hey, have you guys been up to the brewery at all?
No.
Everything? No? Any closer with testing procedures or anything with that?
Steve and I have exchanged a lot of information
Okay.
and stuff back and forth, but I'm not really sure where it sits. I think we've provided, I've certainly provided Steve with a lot of, how they should do their SOPs and what to look for and things
Okay.
like that, so I think we've given them a pretty good outline.
Yes.
In sampling, but I haven't heard anything back on start dates or.
Well, I think they're running,
That would be news to us.
so.
Beer or water?
We gave them permission,
To run the water batches.
and I think pretty
Good.
much start right after that.
Okay.
So, thanks, Steve.
Just gonna make sure if they ran water or well testing, we'll put down.
Well,
Run the tank.
Steve's already kinda, I know, going on record, even as far as today, asking them to update us on that. 'Cause
Yep.
they were supposed to notify us.
I do know, I remember seeing some trucks hauling from there over into Spencer and some other stuff. So maybe they're just pumping and dumping it, maybe they're just filling their tanks and,
Yeah, I know Steve's expressed a fair amount of frustration trying to get that kind of information.
They should be at least picking up the phone when it rings on their end,
yeah.
regardless of what they're doing. All right.
Okay. Well, great seeing everybody.
You
See
too.
in-
Thank you, John.
In a few
Have
weeks.
fun.
Here.
Ms. Kramer? No, we're a little behind. Not too bad.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, we took minutes and headway. How's your vacation?
Thank you.
I started to put the memo together for you and decided that it would be easier because of all of the different things I was going to talk about if I just put it in a memo format with the matrix. I also had anticipated that your new member would be here, and this might be a good opportunity to go through some of the things that you've identified as priorities, so she might be aware. So I'm going to assume that she'll probably be watching this show at some point anyway, so she'll have an opportunity to see it. I did notice on your executive session, on your agenda, you have an executive session. I'm going to actually cover it in open session, so I don't think there'll be a need for executive session tonight. So what I did was add a column to your sewer department matrix with a town administrator update, so you'll have an update on what our office has been doing on your behalf as you have directed us to do. So under 1, about to find a supply for public water source for those who live by the Southbridge landfill, whose wells are contaminated, as you know. We've successfully negotiated an order of conditions, an ACO, for the town of Southbridge to supply water to the residents at no cost to the Charlton residents. $10 million water line will be built, and the residents have agreed to hook up online. So that we've reported to you already, but definitely wanted to bring that back up on the matrix. Further down, we'll talk about some of the things that have to do with that. I don't have any comments on 2 and 3. On 4, the water master plan funded through a grant will answer many questions and provide the basis to negotiate a fair water price. Beta is in the process, my understanding of completing the water master plan. The grant funds are at risk. You have, I believe I copied you an email here from, if I didn't, I'll get it to you. Might still be in my, okay. I received an email from DEP basically saying that you needed to give the information to them, and all the bills need to be completed by July. Or I have it further down in here. Emailed the grant overseer asking to provide all the funds to be held in an account. So I did contact DEP and let them know that we've been a little distracted in trying to make sure that the Casella water line was negotiated, and that we would like to see if they will hold over our grant money. I don't know if we will be able to, but if not, you may lose about $100,000 in grant money, because some of the recommendations that we've made just haven't been acted on, and we have not been able to, you didn't get your water sewer commission, your water sewer superintendent, and some of that work didn't get done. 5, the Casella work with the Board of Health, that is completed. We've been working with them on the water line. They've been very active. The review of the water line design is in process. McClure is in process of reviewing that. Administration, prepare your budget. That's been done and passed at town meeting. Construction of the school loop, McClure is in the process. Land purchase price not accepted for Stearns, and we'll contact the next property. So I want to be clear on this. You had directed me to move forward with taking the price that Stearns wanted to ExxonMobil, and originally you had told me it was $91,000. I went to them, they did an appraisal, their appraisal came out much less. They were around $35,000. The owners of the property at Stearns had told me that they had gotten an appraisal for $125,000. I asked them to produce that in writing because they said they didn't want to pay for it. It was $3,000. I told them that I would pay for the actual appraisal if that's what they were looking for. At this point, they have told me that they will not be getting an appraisal. I question whether or not they could get the value to that amount. I've gone back and I've pushed Exxon as much as I can, and at this point, they have agreed to $70,000, which is on the table. I've gone back to Stearns and told them that that's what's on the table. As you know, because of the procurement laws and the real estate for towns to be able to purchase property, we would have to do an appraisal. If we did an appraisal to think about adding more money or to doing something to purchase it ourselves, that appraisal will probably come back at $30,000 or $40,000. If it does, then we hit a wall. We would not be able to pay more than that. So I've kind of hit a wall. I've let Exxon know that they're not moving. As a matter of fact, the price from Stearns continues to go up. You had told me it was 91. Then she told me it was 92 the last time I spoke with Ms. Tammy. She said it was 96. So it's become a moving target. I did go back to her on last Monday and said, this is where we are. I can't move it anymore. Exxon's not going to add more money, and the town cannot add more money because the value we're not seeing is there. So she had said that she would get in touch with me at the end of last week, which she did not contact me. So my recommendation, I spoke with McClure Engineering. When we stubbed the Route 169 water line, we had a choice A and a B in case the A property didn't work out. So I've gotten the information, and I'm going to contact the second land owner and start that process. I think it's the fair thing to do. I think it's been a fair offer to the Stearns. Nobody wants to force anyone to sell their property for something that they're not comfortable with, so I don't think continuing down that road at this point is positive. Again, we don't have a dog in this fight. We don't have to, if it costs more, that's on Exxon. So all we need to do at this point is to get the land for the pump station. So I have informed Exxon that it looks like that this land will not work out, and that we're going to have to go to the number 2, which Kleinfelder was involved in the design of that, so they won't be surprised. So that's where that is. I'm just letting you know what's happening next.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Both Gabe and I, as you know, were involved with
Yes, I know.
with working with the Stearns. And one of the things that was made clear to the Stearns was that the Water and Sewer Commission has the power of eminent domain. And the last thing we want to do is have a battle with townspeople. And we asked them that if we could not come to an agreement on price, would they be offended if we had taken it by eminent domain and let the differential be decided by a third party, i.e. a judge? They said no, they would have no problem doing that. So I hear what you're saying as far as, well, if we can't do business with them, we'll go elsewhere. But I'm bringing up the point is, we can do business with them, because they're in agreement of going the eminent domain route, being paid a fair price for their property, and that whatever is being discussed as far as what's too much or what's not enough, then we're gonna let a judge decide it, and then we can.
Mr. Lemansky, why would you recommend that form when you're talking about going to court? You're talking about years. We've got people up at the Casella line. There is a water line that's dependent on this,
No,
getting it done.
I understand
And
that.
you would not be able to do any eminent domain without a town meeting vote. So you'd have to wait until October to even start the process, if you even could. Plus, you would be doing you would be crippling the Stearns, because if we do an actual appraisal, which is what eminent domain is based on, they're only going to get $30,000 to $40,000. There's no way there's going to be an appraisal, because that's what we'd have to do, is we get appraisal, they get appraisal, and you find a third one. They will lose $40,000 by doing it your way.
No, they may not, no, that's why you go to court, and the court will decide
The
whether they would.
Town is
justly-
not going, it's going to cost the town, Mr. Lemansky, what doesn't make sense to me is why would you cost the town money to go to court when you have a plan, a second site?
Okay,
That
and
doesn't make
have you
any
looked at
sense
the
to me.
second site? Has the second site been engineered? Has the second site been engineered to a point of what's it gonna cost to
Mr.
build on
Graber
that
just
site?
said it.
The-
Oh, no.
Kleinfeld has already.
It's
put the
already been
design
looked
in.
at, and it was already approved by this board when you looked at the 1 and 2, because I was in the room when you
Right, right.
approved the number 2.
2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with Maura Johnson, who's the lead engineer for
Mhm.
Kleinfelder on this, on the entire project. And I asked her a couple of questions. I says, first of all, I says, Maura, is the pump station holding up?
It's
the
not,
bid
I've already
process-
emailed
the
you
bid
that it's
process,
not.
Relative to doing the work? She says, no, it's not,
That's correct.
okay? She also said to me.
But,
she
Mr.
says-
Lemansky, I do want to remind you that it's not holding up the bigger project. It's holding up the project to get water to the residents that live up by Casella. That's the holdup. I mean,
What
I don't
Maura
think
had told me is
want to
that-
make this a priority.
That that their plan, this is Kleinfelder, ExxonMobil, their plan is to put the road work out to bid this summer. Their plan also is to do probably 2 legs
Mhm.
of that, which one would be Masonic Home and the other one would be Bay Path. And by doing both of those, the pump station doesn't need to be in play. She specifically told me there's no plans to build that pump station this year. So the pump station's not
Why
gonna be
can't
built.
we get-
I don't believe
2017.
that that's true.
I-
That
that-
may
I'm
be
sorry,
their
that's what
plans,
she
but
told
I
me.
can tell you what, DEP will be pushing them, and they are going to carry the heavy weight to get the pump station in as quickly as possible for those people who live at H Foot Road and Berry Corner Road
No
that have
disrespect to the
contamination in
people
their
who-
wells.
Who live up there and have the issues that they have. Kleinfelder's job and devotion is to their client, which is
And-
ExxonMobil.
And Kleinfelder
And
is an
It was told to
employee.
me that ExxonMobil is following the plan that they have. And their plan isn't to expedite the pump station. That's not their plan.
No, it's not. It may not be today, and they may not have communicated this to Maura, and they may not have had that conversation yet
But
with
this-
DEP, but I can tell you that this is not moving forward until we get the land and get that done. Even design is not
And-
starting. The town of Southbridge is waiting to start their design for once we have our design. So I can tell you, if you bought that property tomorrow, we will do a major push to make sure that Exxon puts that as a priority to get water up to those residents.
So why wouldn't
So,
you just take 20
just
grand out
hearing-
of the 10 million and give them the 91,000
Well-
and call it a day?
What are you what?
Actually, Mr. Berthium, the differential of what we're talking about is $22,000.
Yeah.
Exxon's at 70, the Stearns are at 92. The difference is 22,000. To go and go to Site B, the engineering alone is gonna cost $22,000.
Well, then Exxon should turn
Exxon's paying
around
that.
when we start to say, okay, we're done, we cannot continue with Stearns because this is their price. If Exxon believes that it's more advantageous for them to purchase a Stearns property than go to the second site, then you're absolutely right. They can make that decision and they can change and go up to what the homeowner's asking for. But at this point, it doesn't cost the town any additional monies, whichever site
But
it
it's not
is.
gonna cost the town any additional monies. either
And
way.
the additional monies isn't what I'm worried right now, because
are you
it's
worried
not
about?
gonna cost us anything. It's getting water to those people at H-Foot Road.
And I'm not in disagreement with you, but I am saying to you is from what I have been told by the people in the engineering department, the head person,
Mm-hmm.
is there's no plans to do that pump station this year. That's their plan.
Well,
As much as we all
I
want to see it
can't,
pushed,
I
but
can't attest, and all I
Okay.
know is more, she's an engineer with Kleinfelder that works for Exxon. So we're going down,
Right.
3, 4 channels from the top who make the decisions.
Well, I
So-
think what Mr. Lemansky's saying is basically Exxon don't have a part in the landfill. So there's no incentive for them to push. They're gonna do what they have to do by the letter of the law. And I think that's what you're trying to get at,
exactly,
right?
thank you.
Well, I don't think that that's
I'm not saying it
actually
couldn't
gonna happen,
happen.
because I think DEP is going to step in and make it a priority, and I've already had conversations with DEP about that. So I think that once the land is purchased, you will see a fast track to get that pump station in.
So why don't we figure out how to, I'm not saying the Stearns is right or wrong on their number. You know what I mean?
They want what they want,
Exactly, and that's what I'm getting at.
and they're,
So if it's twenty
That's fine for
thousand, and we're in the process here of a $40 million project, how can we
But
not
Gabe-
short this gap?
Robin's offered to
Between
pay
the
for
two.
the appraisals, and they haven't come across with any appraisals.
No, but I'm saying is,
the taxpayer cannot buy property
Right.
more value.
but why?
We cannot pay more value than what it's
Why
worth.
can't the whole Casella project pitch in 20 grand to it?
That's not gonna happen. You have
They're the
you
one
have a number
pushing it.
two. No, they're pushing for us to do what we said we were gonna do. And what we said we were gonna do was we have 2 sites. We have the Stearns property, and we have a second site. We've stubbed both of them, and this commission was very clear to make sure it had a backup in case this land was not able to sell. The landowner has made a statement about what they want. Exxon is not willing to pay that. You have no ability to pay it as a town, because you cannot pay for, even through eminent domain, you cannot pay more than what it's worth.
Just hypothetical then.
And there's been nothing that comes close to that as an appraisal.
Okay, and I'm just saying this hypothetically. 2 months from now, the next property's 100 grand. What do we do then?
You mean wasted 2 months?
No, I'm serious.
I
I'm
don't know
not-
what you mean.
Plan B.
Mhm.
The guy goes, well, you're out of plans and I want 100 grand for it.
Then Exxon will be able to make a choice which one they want to pay for,
If the other one's still available.
if it is. If it's not, then that's where the pump station goes.
So we have nothing else in our arsenal to come up with $20,000.
You cannot give someone $20,000 for land that's not valued
Why would we
at
want
that
to?
amount.
Because we're talking about time, and I'm talking.
So let's go
with-
down to the
Everybody's
other side.
throwing time at this board, which I agree with 100%, but yet we can't. Do you follow what I'm saying?
No, you cannot.
Okay, so then we have to give it time. So please don't
Right.
tell us that we don't have the time, or use
What-
time
all I'm-
against us,
All I'm saying is, it's time to go to the second site to start negotiating.
which is fine. If that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. All I'm saying is, I don't wanna be the recipient of, that we're holding things up when we have no control over it.
And I don't think the Stearns are holding anybody up either. It's their property, that's what they want from it.
That's what they want. They
That's
are,
right. So
there's
then-
nothing
It's
wrong
also
with
our
them
choice
wanting
to
what they
Go to
want.
another site.
Correct.
And that's what we're doing.
By all means, Mr. Chairman, but in my mind, I still think it would be proper for us to say is that based on the information we now have, that there is a disagreement between the purchaser and the seller, and it's a $22,000 differential, that we agree that we're gonna take the property by eminent domain. So with that.
Then you'll pay
with that-
$40,000.
Excuse me, please, Rob, let me finish. With that statement, then we can go forward, we have a town meeting in October. In the meantime, everything's going forward, that's where the pump station's going. It's not gonna go anywhere else. And we're not arguing over money, it's gonna be settled by experts and also by a judge. To me, it's that simple. I mean, I've been involved to where states come and taking property from you, and here's what they tell you. It's for the public good, we've gotta take it, we're gonna give you a fair value. If you're not happy, sign pro tanto, that's the term. That means that you accept the money and you can come back and sue us for the differential.
Why would you put the town in that position?
We're
It
not
makes
putting the
no
town in that
sense.
position.
It is.
How are we putting the town in that position?
And then you're saying they can come
ExxonMobil's
back
paying
and
all the
sue
money.
us? ExxonMobil is not gonna be responsible for any legal bills if we mess this up. That is totally on the taxpayer. If we get sued because we're doing eminent domain, plus all the time that it's gonna take, and risking that the appraisal is gonna come in less than what Exxon has offered,
Exxon's experts, Exxon's experts have already said it's not worth that money, so they should have no problem defending that. Exxon has already said they're responsible for paying for the land. So what we've done is, we've done our best effort here to go out and find the piece of property that's gonna work, okay? And we're not buying the whole property, we're only buying a portion of the property, and these people are gonna have to live with that thing at the end of their driveway, or the beginning of the driveway, however you wanna put it. And they have to live with those costs and those results.
well, my suggestion would be that we go to the second site if that's not available. If we're not able to negotiate something there, then eminent domain might be the last resort.
Yeah, go ahead.
John Jordan, 68 Edgefoot Road, up in the neighborhood where we need the water. I just had a quick question. I understand October, I'm in eminent domain more now than I did before. My only question is, the ACO says the land has to be purchased by the end of July, or we have to request an extension. Is that correct for the ACO?
Yes.
Yeah.
So eminent domain would kind of screw that up, and then we're putting ourselves at the mercy of requesting an extension. That's requesting from many different parties that are all involved in making this work. Any one of them could say, nah. And now there's no 10 million, there's no water line, there's no anything. If there's a second parcel available, please consider it and just move on it. And if it doesn't work out, then we're in eminent domain anyway with either one you want. And that's where we are. That's how I feel. That's how the 50-plus homes up there feel. And that's all we can ask you to do. Thank you.
Thanks.
Excuse me, John, if I may. First of all, thank you for your time and all this effort that you put into this. I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that the fact of us stating that we're taking the position of the power of eminent domain, then we have come to the conclusion that that property, even though we haven't passed on it, that property is going to become the property of the town of Charlton.
Mm-hmm.
And that with our agreement with ExxonMobil, is they're responsible for the cost of that property.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I say is this puts a period at the end of the sentence, is that if in fact we can't come to an agreement, then we take it by eminent domain and let the two parties, the seller and the purchaser, have their final argument. But that's away from us, has nothing to do with
Sure.
us. We already know that's where we're gonna go.
So that's October timeframe.
Well, actually, it could be, as far as making the statement that I believe that the water and sewer have the power of eminent domain. We can take property. And I don't know if it has to be
Only for
certified.
10% more than the assessed value. I don't think you can go over 10% more than the assessed value. So we would get an assessed appraisal, they would get, when I say assessed value, I mean through an appraisal. We would get an appraisal, they would get an appraisal. I've already offered them to get an appraisal and use theirs. They've not done it. So we would get an appraisal, Exxon would get an appraisal. Once we do that, now we're going to court by your way. Now we're going to go back to the Stearns and tell them the highest amount we can pay, most likely, if it comes out to the appraisal that Exxon has said their appraiser's done, is $45,000, if that. Because you're gonna have 35 to 40, if you can go up another 10%, you're not gonna get to the 70,000. So you're gonna put them at risk, and once that happens, and you start the eminent domain process, you're stuck. There's no court that's going to give them more money than what the appraised value is. So if you go down that road, Mr. Lemanski, you should be absolutely positive you're gonna get an appraisal that's gonna come in higher than $70,000. And I'm not seeing that from what I'm looking at.
I believe it's gonna boil down to a business decision by ExxonMobil. Is from what they offered, and you've confirmed they've offered $70,000.
No, because then we go
You're not
back to
confirming that?
then we go back
No,
to
you
the
said that.
IMA.
No, I didn't say that.
I said,
Mrs. Craver came in
no,
and said
then you
that.
go back-
They refused an offer of $70,000.
You go back to the IMA that you have with Exxon, and the agreement is that we negotiate it. You can take the eminent domain out. What you have said with Exxon is that we will get an appraisal, they will get an appraisal, and it'll be somewhere in the middle.
There's no
So,
day.
if that happens, from there, we get one, they get one, we find it in the middle. If the Stearns is still at their higher price and we can't come up to that price, you're stuck, because one, the town can't pay for a piece of real estate more than what its value is. Exxon is gonna get our number down, even if we can get it up a little bit, and we're still never going to come near the $70,000. The $70,000 is only good if they take it now. And if they don't, there is no way. Soon as we do an appraisal, and I really keep repeating this, soon as we do an appraisal, that's the price. And if you believe that we could get an appraisal for more than $70,000, let's get that, because I can go back to Exxon. I don't believe it's possible. So I think there's a fair offer here. That's why,
Plus the Stearns will be out all the legal fees if it ends up being for naught.
So what do you want to put a time frame on for this other property? Because what do you got, 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
I'm gonna push as fast as I can.
right?
And
I
that-
mean, I agree,
I-
checking out this other property before you go to eminent domain, but
And also you've got to get you have to get a quote on the engineering, what it's gonna cost to engineer the new piece of property, because the Stearns property has already been engineered.
No, I don't. They're in charge of the
Yeah.
engineering. We have nothing to do with the engineering.
Okay, but
We have no costs. All we have to do is
In order to
purchase the
give
land.
The person, or the party who's paying for the property, they should understand what, the cost of what it's gonna go, to go from Plan A to Plan B.
They've already put in design both of those
Right.
properties, so they already should know. That's-
Again, I do not.
That's not our problem, that's their problem.
But another quote by Maura Johnson when I was on the phone, she says, we have told, we, the engineers, I think her and Tara Houlihan, that pump station can go in one place, is what she told them, the Stearns property. That's what they told them.
Well,
So-
that's contradictory to everything that you've been told up to now. And I just have to ask, because now I'm negotiating this on behalf of the water sewer. If you're now going to them, talking to them about a pump station, and I'm trying to get them to move to the next one because we can't get a deal here, frankly, Mr. Lemanski, I think you can undermine many of the conversations.
What you're saying is theory. Here's the
You're
reason
having
why-
a
let me tell you,
conversation
Mr.
with-
Chairman, just let me
with
tell you why I
engineers
called Maura
about
Johnson.
this.
I called her because I wanted to find out more, as a commissioner, where are we on this project?
Why aren't you calling Chris McClure? He's your engineer on this
No,
project.
because Maura Johnson is, as you pointed out, is 5 steps away from the head of Exxon. No one's gonna know more about engineering than Maura Johnson.
I think
And
Chris
that's why I
McClure
called
should.
Maura. I called Maura to find out where are we. I wanted to find out about whether or not the pump station was holding up the construction. Why? Because, think about it, Mr. Chairman. This project was approved over a year ago, and we don't have one shovel in the ground yet. Think about that.
I already sent you an email that said that this wasn't holding it up.
I'm not
So
gonna entertain any more about.
So
you-
this
you
is the
going
reason,
rogue.
this is the reason why I gave Maura a call,
Okay.
I believe it was 2 weeks ago, to find out where it is. And that's
Duly
why I
noted.
wanted to find out what is the pump station holding this up. And that's when she offered the fact is, by the way, which she reads the newspaper, is,
Well-
she says, we have nothing to do with what's happening up on the hill.
I would recommend that you work through Chris McClure and not be contacting them directly and having us speak with one voice. Because when different individual members of this commission, or myself or Chris, and are giving different messages, then it doesn't give us a cohesive moving forward.
If,
So,
I need a little help here, Mr. Chairman, is, I believe it might have been 2 or 3 meetings ago that we handed over to Ms. Craver that she would go and work on this property, as far as securing it. Am I correct about that?
Okay,
Okay, but
and if that's failed, we're moving on to the next property.
right, but did we also make Ms. Craver in charge of this whole project?
No one made you in charge of
No,
it either.
but I'm a commissioner, I'm 1 out of 5. All right, Ms. Craver is not on this board. Okay,
Okay.
she's not a voting member. If, in fact, we gave her permission to work on the securing of the property. That's why I'm having problems here, is looking at number 1, is together, we must find a new supply of public water. I mean, the we is 5 members. How did the Board of Selectmen get involved here? I don't remember having
No,
that vote.
stick to the
Okay.
original topic, Rob.
Okay.
Don't get off topic.
Yeah. So,
So, Ms. Craver was tasked with securing property. If that's not
Yep.
gonna happen, we need to move on and find something we can secure.
I
And
don't
if that's
disagree.
another site, then that's another site.
so, I will contact the next one, and I will let Exxon know
Thank you.
that the homeowner has not agreed. So that was number 8. Number 9 is Exxon. I see that you have the superintendent on for later, I'll wait for that. The IMA dispute, the project was put on hold while Casella Waterline was being negotiated. We'll meet again with the manager, accountant, and DPW director. And yes, you did task me with that one also. Sewer rate study, I don't have any information on that. Administration and grants, this is the same as what I said before. The state accounts payable period ends in August, so please forward all remaining invoices for Charlton System study, water system study project to DEP by July 31st, so that they may be reviewed and processed in time to assure payment to the town. And I do believe Kara has reached out to Beta to find out, get an idea of when they're gonna be done, so we can try and make sure that their payments are paid by July 31st. Land purchase for the pump station, we've just gone through that.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, Robin, you know Tara Houlihan left Kleinfeld.
No, I
That's
did
right.
not know.
No.
I've been dealing with Scott Wybrow.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And Chris McClure is my contact for engineering. Will Charlton negotiate with the town of Southbridge to get a wholesale rate? I think we're waiting for that, the completion of the water plant, master plan. Work with the state and Casella for funding to administer any grants, that's done. The oversight, McClure is in the process of overseeing the Casella design once that, and I believe that they have already started on some of that. What needs to be done in order to become a water source, that's, again, waiting for completion of the water master plan and hiring of your superintendent. Charlton has already given notice to the town of Southbridge. It plans to become a consecutive water system. That also was put on hold because of the water master plan and hiring of your superintendent. The billing issues appears to be progressing. Mary has gone out and been assisting your department. The meter station at Route 169, McClure and Exxon waiting on the land purchase. I don't have any information on your sewer components. The permitting for the master plan also appears to be halted until the master plan is completed. Search for viable Charlton wells, this appears to be halted also. Consecutive water system is in the waits. But I thought it was important to bring the matrix back up so you could, you know, just have another opportunity to take a look at all the things that you have that are your priorities, and you have numbered those priorities. Water negotiations with the Aquarian Water Company in the town of Oxford for the east side of Route 20. As you know, there's salt contamination abated. You asked me to contact them. The water sewer, so I have had contact, and right now I'm in the process of working on a grant for Mass Waterworks with the town of Oxford. They're in the process, they've been approved I believe it's a Mass Waterworks grant for sewer to come down that road. We are talking with Mass DOT about trying to get, when they do put the sewer down, to also include the water. We're trying to get Mass DOT to get involved with that and take responsibility and to pay for it. So we'll be having some meetings coming up shortly. And Exxon final documents are completed. So the two new pieces that I added on the next page is rescind the water betterment. And I have that on the next page. You have a motion in front of you. Per your and the Board of Selectmen's earlier vote, we are providing language to rescind the water betterments. Town council provided the motion, and the town treasurer collector has been working on the liens and collections. We are ready to begin the reimbursements once the vote is taken. So you have the motion in front of you. And I would ask that you make this motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission vote, A, to rescind its
Excuse
vote.
me, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
Mr.
no,
Mansky. If, I did want to make a comment, if anyone has a betterment and that would have a financial interest in this, I would recommend that you do not make the motion or vote, that you would abstain. I would think that that would be
Okay.
pertinent, and I'm just thinking of protecting you.
No, and I don't disagree with you, because at the time, when Mr. Cosgrove gave his opinion, he based his opinion on 225 hookups, and the language that's in ethics, it doesn't talk about hookups, it talks about people. And if it's, and the number that we needed to be is if in fact the amount of people who are affected is over 10% of the population, and I believe at that time it had to be, the 10% was around 1,200. And one thing that Jim Cosgrove, our town council, didn't take into consideration, he looked at hookups and not at people. So he didn't count probably the 500 people that at Masonic Home. He didn't count the apartment complexes that were connected. So there's probably a good chance that there is over 1,200 people who are affected. But rather than get into a counting situation right now, I will choose to not participate in this, because my family owns property that has a betterment.
Me too.
There's no vote. I don't own anything, but it's just me and you.
According to Mr. Cosgrove's, if I may.
What I would recommend is that the chair make the motion, that you second it, and then abstain in the vote.
And that's pretty much what Mr. Cosgrove said.
Okay.
And that the two people would be considered majority, because present is a majority of the commission.
You're right.
I'm not that I'm right, I mean, I just want to tell you.
No.
What you call reading.
Okay. I moved that
I would suggest that Alex make the motion and you second it for discussion and vote.
okay.
All right. I move the commission, here's the motion. I move the commission vote A, to rescind its vote taking at its duly posted open meeting held November 4th, 2013, to assess water betterments on certain properties shown on plan entitled Town of Charlton Water System Betterment Map 112513, which is on file in the commission office, a notice of liens imposed pursuant to such vote having been recorded at the Worcester District Registry of Deeds on March 4th, 2014, in book 52087, page 233, and the properties affected by such lien being identified on such notice at pages 234 through 236, and B, to have recorded in said registry a notice releasing said liens.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, take a vote.
Lemansky, abstain.
Gagnon, abstain.
Bertheum, aye.
Mackenzie, aye.
Did you, no, I think you would abstain.
Why?
Do you have property?
Not on a water line.
You don't have a betterment?
Nope.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
I'm sorry.
Unless you want to send them a check.
Let me just double check here, because I... Go ahead and continue then.
All right, so motion passes by a majority. Does certificate releasing water betterments need to be read publicly, Ms. Garber?
Oh, I sold that last year.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. I did see it in here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't get in any trouble
I had a
on it.
property right over here, yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Because I was thinking, I'm like, no, I definitely, no. I did.
You sold it.
Does
Okay.
the certificate have to be read publicly?
The certificate?
Below that,
No.
second paragraph.
No, that's just a comment to the
Oh, okay.
treasurer on
Yep.
using for information.
Mr.
Okay, so we'll
Chairman,
move forward on that.
I have a question. Just was no more than 4 days ago, I had a property owner ask me what was the expected date of these liens, A, being taken off the property, and B, what's the expected time frame for the return of the money?
We will, now that you've taken the vote, the collector will start the process with the liens and releasing those now that you've rescinded it. And we will put together a letter going out to anyone that's paid already with an application to have reimbursement. So we will get that moving as quickly as we can.
Well, if I may, so I'm sure that the collector is going to, is it the collector or the assessors?
Treasurer, collector now.
Okay, so they will put a big master list together and then take that and record that at the courthouse to release all those liens.
Mhm. And then they will give me a list of those people who have paid, and that's who I will use to send the letters out.
Okay, and so the collector treasurer will also, they will supply the dollar amount that's expected to be returned. So
Yes.
the homeowner isn't gonna have to go back in their checkbook or in their,
Yes, they will have to prove that they did. They're not gonna be able to walk up to the window and say, I live at 54 Osgood Road.
yeah,
I'd like the money. They're gonna have to have some proof that they were the ones that actually paid. Some properties have changed over. The past landowners may come in and ask for the reimbursement. Or maybe a new owner might come in and they'd have to have an affidavit that said that the person who owned it and sold it is willing to transfer it over to them.
okay,
So,
all right. And that'll all be spelled out in the letter
Yes.
that's sent out to them. Perfect, okay. So everyone knows now. Okay.
so, thank you. This has been a long time coming. Lastly,
Do they have the old records? Is that, you know what I mean, of old former owners and stuff like that?
we're just going forward to who you billed and who
Yeah.
paid. So it'll go to the property. So we'll do our best to try and make sure we find the people who are owed money. Next is the delinquent water bills. As you know, with the IMA, there's a process that town of Southbridge is supposed to follow so that the town taxpayer isn't, or the ratepayer in Charlton isn't responsible for delinquent bills and unpaid bills. Right now, you do have, the town of Southbridge deducts the unpaid water bills to you. We have the ability to lien. So before we start with the liens, they are sending their last notice for shut-off, and they will be shutting off the water to those who are a year and over per the IMA. So I just want to let you know in case people are contacting you. I'm working with the Board of Health to make sure that there's no issues with anyone, the house isn't going to be habitable and cause a problem. So hopefully they will pay their bills and we will move on.
Mr. Chairman, haven't we sent out letters probably a month or 2 months ago.
Multiple letters.
They were sent up.
Southbridge has been hesitant to actually do the shut-off. And
Okay, all right, and then the one major one, have we gotten any feedback on the major one?
No.
Okay, then, we'll do what's,
What letters were sent out?
the major one, I am going to try and have a
Urging
conversation
them to
with
pay the bill.
Southbridge
before.
DPW and that entity to see if there's some way that we can, because I do believe that that one would end up in court at this point. So if we can negotiate something where maybe we pay a portion, Southbridge take a portion, and the business take a portion, given that they had given us a notice a while back that they were not willing to continue to be responsible. So I think if we can negotiate that one, we'd be better off.
Because they paid a chunk of them, right? It was just a,
They
it was
paid
a
a
certain
lot.
section of them. Yeah.
They paid a lot. So
So-
right now, there's about $40,000.
So it's not that they're behind currently, it's just.
Oh,
there's
no,
a-
they,
No, there's a section that they're in disagreement over or something like
it's the
that.
last payment, isn't it?
It was under two different accounts, I believe.
There's two, there's a domestic use, and then there's the fire line.
the blow-off.
So, yeah, there's two accounts there.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, while Ms. Craven's here, Robin, can you pinpoint the reimbursement for our engineer relative to inspection of, when did that clock begin, and when does the 12 months end, so we call it the 1 year, so we can issue a bill for reimbursement?
Here's my understanding with them. First, with the Route 169, they were very clear that they were not going to pay any 24/7. So that's off the table. That town meeting funded that, and that's been paid, so that's done. The IMA has language that says at the beginning of the construction. Exxon has said that, of course, they will continue to pay our engineering fees through the review of design. So I have asked for those bills to be sent to me, and I am forwarding them to Scott. So if McClure has bills that he's had by,
Yep.
and he should be doing them in a timely manner, because it's harder to kind of convince them that if I get one for 3 months or months
Right.
back, I need to be getting monthly bills from him and that I can forward.
Okay, so when did this start? Because I know McClure had been in many conversations with both Maura and Tara, relative to the plan. In fact, I think it was last year, they toured Masonic Home in determining how they were gonna service the water there. So, is that when it started?
Mr. Lemansky, if it hasn't been billed and it's been last year, I would say that that's probably not a billable. We need to have recent bills. Anything that he sent me, that he's accumulated, I have forwarded to Exxon. If he's not billing us, then I can't guarantee that there's going to be payment if there's a long time going
But
past.
If I may, excuse me. Steve, didn't we get a handful of bills that we voted on?
Yes,
Last meeting?
yes.
And how many of those were?
Those bills have been paid. There's
But-
5 others, 5 additionals that we're talking about now.
All right, but the ones that we did pay, how many of them are relative to the water project?
Without going back to look at them, I don't have
All
time.
right, so-
Of the ones we paid, I think those were the ones under the grant.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
From the last meeting?
Those were under the grant, all of them, okay?
The ones we paid, yes, because I sat down with Steve and our town accountant and went through where those bills should go.
So I thought we went through all those last meeting.
Yeah, and then.
And
we
he
did
came
those-
and brought what you
we
had
did
done
those
to
on
us.
Monday. Okay.
Because the agreement says, and that, it's $100,000 per year.
Once construction starts, but right now, we're in the design phase, and they have been reimbursing you for the design. So we need to have those bills, and we need to forward them. And he is working with Kleinfelder, so they should, I thought the bills went to Kleinfelder, and they just took care of them, so if that's not happening, that's a problem.
Okay, all right. Good enough.
I might back up a minute before Ms. Craver leaves here. This situation with obtaining the land, I've been through this at least twice that I can remember right now. And what would happen is, we would give them some money. As you're saying, we don't have the right to give much more than 10% or so we're gonna give them $40-something thousand, period. We own the land. Now, it's up to the homeowner to pursue a lawsuit to try to get more. And to do that, of course, they have to go to court, and we're gonna bring in appraisals that we've already got. I think they're gonna be hard put to come anywhere near the 70,000 that's already on the table for them. And what I think we need at this time is a good salesman to go in and try to convince them that it's not a bad offer right now, and they better take it, because in the long run, they're gonna receive less, and they're gonna have to go through loss of that whole, encumbrance that nobody likes to go through with lawyers and stuff, and still not come out with 70,000, at which point they're gonna give what they get extra to the attorney as well. So I just think we need somebody who has some convincing power, who's been through this before, and can tell them the reality of the situation. And hopefully they'll agree to the offer that Mobile Exxon has given them.
I would agree, and I would respectfully say the only person I think that can do this at this point is Mr. Lemansky, because I do believe that he's been suggesting the eminent domain, and they may be believing that that's a viable step,
And it's not to say that for our own information, we shouldn't be pursuing the second property, to have some idea, because as Mr. Lansky said, engineering costs might be associated with this. So we
Legal
know
fees,
exactly,
there's a lot.
if there are any extra costs that
I agree,
Yeah.
so.
Just to add to it is, again, whatever the board wants me to do, I will do. But I just need to give you the information is that we did go to the assessors. And we did get a dollar amount per square foot. And based on their square footage, it falls right in play. Now, there was a property that just sold on 169, beginning of 169. Property was, I think, about 20,000 square feet, and it was assessed by the town of Charlton for $120,000. Now, yes, it had a building on it, but that's what the land was assessed for. So, when and this is the information that I'm getting, and this is valid information, is that when you look at that point of view, is that, yes, they're close to being where they should be. But when appraiser gets involved, the appraiser, he's bound by his appraisal rules that he has to find like-kind property that has sold for that amount of money. And that's where the problem that the appraiser is having, is as far as finding that like kind. So, and the other thing that's not being included in here is that was pointed out to me, is the intangible of they're only selling a portion of the property, and that the portion of the property that's being sold is right at the beginning of their driveway. And this is the property they're gonna have to drive by when they come and go from their home. And also, all their customers are gonna have to drive by, come and go, and also the loss of their parking spaces. So there's an intangible in there that's being taken into play here. It's not as hard and as cold as we wanna go and say, it's a square foot, it's a square foot, and comparable property sold in town, it's not worth that kind of money.
Part of that intangible you're referring to, Mr. Lansky, is simply comes down to design. And if they have a piece of property already picked out, then we can sit down and kind of figure out what the design is, to have it blend into the area, to have it look as it should, and not like a pump station.
Of course, of course.
And so that, what you're referring to as an intangible becomes a very tangible thing that is just an aesthetic that gets associated with the design. So, the appraisers, I understand what you're saying, but
The appraisal and the assessed value generally don't match up. And
right, so
we try to have 100%, but
If it
I
went-
can tell you I have a piece of property in Douglas, The assessed value they have is $4,000 an acre. As trying to get an appraisal on that property, it's $1,000 an acre, which is landlocked. So I have beat my head up against the wall on this piece of property saying, but it's assessed at 4,000. The appraiser isn't moving off of $1,000 an acre because that's the going rate. So, you know, all the information that Mr. Lemansky talked about from the assessor, I have forwarded that information to Exxon, saying here's the properties that sold, what they sold for. Granted, they are much bigger, and they would be used for commercial use. And I've also, the way I pushed and got them up from 40 to 70 was all those things you just talked about, which is, look, it's gonna be right in front of their driveway when they walks in. And there's those other extenuating circumstances, and that's how we got to the 70,000, which I don't think an appraiser, you're correct, will take into consideration and actually put down on paper. So, eminent domain, again, has to go by appraisals.
Are they not moving their business to Ted's?
They are supposed to be in the process.
Okay.
I'm not sure of what their delays are.
But what it does, and also, Paul, that doesn't mean that the business property that they have, they're just gonna throw away.
No, I understand.
Right? So if they wanna try to invite someone else to go in business, go in business there, is, now you've got this, it's not an encumbrance, but it's certainly something that wasn't there, and someone's gonna say, geez, like, you know, you gotta deal with that all the time. Even though the building is not gonna have any traffic, and it's not gonna have vehicles parked there, you know, day in and day out, you know, the people there won't have dirt bikes and things like that, you know, homeowners have to put up, but I will be more than happy to go back and talk to them
We know what the
and
thing,
express,
we know what the rules are at the end of the line, so go explore the other options, and in a month, this is all gonna come to a head.
one way or
What
the
I will also tell you is that when I talk to the other people, I am going to, Exxon had offered us someone to assist, so I'm gonna actually, which is that expert salesman, which I'm going to involve, so that when we get to the end of this thing, Exxon is gonna be the one that's kind of, when we get to a number, they're gonna be in agreement with that number. So, I think that's all I have. Thank you for the vote, we'll get that moving. Is there anything else? I would like to stay for the water superintendent discussion, if you would take that out of order, and then I'd like to go home for supper, but if that's
Okay.
possible.
Not taking it that far out of order. Because it's like the last thing, I think we've discussed everything under the whole business already,
Mhm.
with the exception of the first two items, we can do that. We haven't done the headworks review in.
Yeah, we did, yeah, we did. We went over all that stuff.
We didn't do the headworks review.
We said no.
Oh, it was it? Okay. I know it was discussed, I didn't think a decision had been made, sorry.
Well, just because with all the pumps and stuff that we bought, we kinda just threw it to the back burner. Or I don't know if we had a full-on discussion, but basically I thought it was kinda consensus.
So, alright, so we'll go down to the job description for the superintendent. That's fine. This is the rewritten one. Do you have a copy of the rewritten one?
No, sir. Do you?
Do you do any more? Oh. Yeah. Has everybody looked through these this week?
Yep.
Anybody have any comments? This is that, and then that's what.
Quick question, if we put that out to hire, we don't necessarily have to hire someone, right? If all, like, let's say we get 5 candidates that come back and we don't like them.
Yeah, we're not obligated to hire
Yeah,
anybody.
that's what I thought.
But why wouldn't you? You have so many projects moving
If
forward.
you get 5 people you don't like, I'm just saying, maybe the money's off, maybe whatever. But if you get 5 people that aren't qualified, or 2 people, or 1 people, and nobody applies, I'm just asking, so.
Anybody have any comments about the newest, latest and greatest?
Nope.
I'm still gonna go back on the licensing and have I would like to see preferred removed out of it, and that they have their drinking water licenses. Because by the letter of the law, they can't touch anything in the system if they're not licensed. It's that simple.
But we don't have a system,
Well,
so it's a catch-22.
But
it's
you
not a
would,
catch-22.
you're
You
moving
would.
forward to.
Well, then give him the opportunity to get his license.
Why wouldn't you hire somebody that has their license already?
I understand that, I'm just saying, so you have the open options of all people.
I still disagree. Hire somebody that has the qualifications right from the get-go.
If we were to look, excuse me.
Yeah.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, it's okay. If we look at the timetable of when we would become an official public water supplier, that wouldn't happen until the pump station was in play.
Why is that?
We don't have a meter. We would have to, I suppose we could be doing a lot of adding and subtracting between Mass Ave and the customers that Southbridge have going north. There's no reason for us to commit to becoming a public water supplier. And we shouldn't be doing that until we, first of all, get the problem that's within the system squared away, which is the problem that Beta is talking about, as far as not being able to do their work because they can't get.
Let's get back to the job description for a minute.
Well, right, so that's my point of why we don't need in day one, we don't need a licensed operator, because we have
So
nothing to
why would we wanna
operate.
go through and rehire somebody that is
We wouldn't
qualified?
rehire one, we'd tell that person is, hit the books and become an operator.
If they don't
Take
have the
that-
time working in the system, Rob, they can't obtain the licenses.
If they don't have the time working in the system. So you're saying they have to have time in there?
They have, that's how the licensing works. Call the board of licensure on it.
Yeah.
Well, you can get the license, but then it's a full, what's the terminology? What do they call it?
OIT, but you still need the time in the system
That's
under a
what I'm getting
license,
Right,
under
right.
a licensed operator. If there's no licensed operator, you can't get
Because
certified.
we don't have a system, but if,
But to Rob's point,
Right.
when we are ready to go down that road, whenever that may be, I'm not putting a timeline on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you just have the person out of the gate have the licenses they need? That's,
listen, if a guy shows up with the licenses, I'm hiring him. All I'm saying is that we might not need him for 2 or 3 years, and if there's a better candidate who doesn't have the license and can help me manage these damn projects for the next 3 to 5 years, then I want that
if they don't
person.
have the licenses, if they
It's
haven't
as simple as that.
Put forth the effort, then why would we want them to oversee everything?
Right, one of the things that we could do is that, when the time comes when we absolutely need a licensed person, and this person we hired didn't have a license, we're certainly not gonna need a full-time licensed person to operate the system. Because all we have to do is look at the amount of time Southbridge spends in our town right now. So, we could have or hire a part-time, fully licensed person.
You need somebody listed
And-
with a DAP as the licensed operator, Rob.
Right, but we're not a certified, we haven't made the commitment yet to become an operator.
Okay.
So when we make that commitment, we would have a name. If in fact the person that we hire doesn't have a license, but it's working towards their license, his or her, all right, then we certainly could bring up, again, because we'd have to find someone who we perfectly, or who's a perfect fit for what we need, but is without a license. I hate to go and put the license tag on it, knowing that we can't hire the person because they don't have a license, but they fit every other
If there's
part of our requirements.
then they need the license. That's what I don't understand why.
Because we don't need a
you're getting on
license
the
day one,
soapbox.
and we don't need a license 6 months from now, and maybe we're gonna need a license 12 months from now. The key thing is we.
Then you'll have to be rehiring somebody, is my
Not
point.
rehiring, again, like I just said,
Who
is
are
you
you gonna
can,
list as the operator at that point?
you can hire a part-time operator to fill in while that's happening. You
Why
don't
would you
have,
wanna expend all that money?
why would I wanna expend all that money for a licensed operator when I don't need one for 12 or 18 months? Because if I'm not mistaken, what we're chasing here is two things. A, we want independence. B is also, we're looking for those privilege fees, abandonment fees. That's what we're chasing here, to the tune of $300,000 to $400,000. So, and that's gonna give our system the kickstart as far as being able to have funds in order to operate. So, I know myself, I don't think that we need a licensed operator. Class 2 is what we're looking for, is it class D?
No, it would be a 2D, but I'm not even quite sure if that's right. It would have to be classified with DEP.
Alex, I hear you 100%. All I'm just saying is, just leave it open. Who cares? We're gonna make the choice of whoever comes in front of us. And obviously, if somebody's got a license and they meet all the criteria, we're going with them. I'm just saying, if the person doesn't have the license, you know what I mean, but they're better than everybody else, why wouldn't you take them?
Mr. Chair, if I might ask you, most of these, we're talking about a person working here and getting his license as he works here. Now, my experience has been with most of these licenses, you can't get a license unless you're working under
That's what
another
I
licensed
said.
person.
That's what I said not too
So
long
we would
ago.
have to have two, so it says, all boils back to your point of view in this situation.
Just hire the person to begin with.
You would,
Yeah.
Paul, you would need two. When you hire this part-time person to come in, he would then be working.
Where are you gonna
Then
get
you-
a part-time
then you-
operator?
a
Rob?
sec-
They're all over the place.
Grade 2? I don't think so.
Does Steve have a sewer license? Then how does he oversee the plant down there? We have
Because
contract services. So if this guy's coming in to oversee contract services, yes, he needs experience in the water and sewer business and everything else, but he doesn't need his licenses to oversee a contract. Sorry, it's the way I feel about it. If we find a guy with the licenses, fantastic, I'm gonna hire him. But at the moment, we have contract services, so I want somebody who understands contract services. If they do both, hallelujah, thank God. But if they don't, I don't wanna discredit good people out there, that's all. That's all I'm saying. I'd rather 20 people and decipher who's the best one than 3 people or 2 people or 4 people.
Mr. Chairman,
That's all my point is.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question either Steve or Norma. When we had gone through this, and then I thought we agreed on it, then I believe you emailed it completely filled out.
Yep.
Okay, so based on what was emailed, that was sent to us, I'd like to make a motion that we accept that as the requirements of the water sewer superintendent, of the
Second.
water and sewer department.
I'm
Got a
trying to
motion and a
follow
second.
this. What does that mean? I'm just trying to follow where you're going.
What, Robin?
What does that mean?
That means
He
For
that,
wants to
myself or
accept-
people listening?
He wants to accept the amended,
So
not the one that says Joe's updates, the other one.
we went through this 3
Line by
meetings
line.
ago, right?
Yeah.
Three meetings ago, line by line. Norman was gonna do the updates, make the changes. We talked about everything in discussion. So now it should just be a formal, whether agreement on it.
yep. So that's the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining because it's so long ago, I've kind of forgotten what exactly we said and changed things to, so I don't want to vote on something that I'm not clear on right now.
Chair votes no, passes by 2. All right.
Mr. Chair, is Beta on the subject list?
data on the subject, Chris?
Yes, yes.
I don't believe so. On the agenda?
Yeah, well, actually, it's really about the master plan.
Real quick, before we dive off of the superintendent, do we have to make a motion for Steve to post the job?
I think the motion would be to send it back for the blessing of the personnel
okay.
board, since you finished it, and then have the HR director post it for you.
Okay. And now, do we need to put after it goes through the, what is it, the
Personnel
personnel
board.
board? Do we put a dollar figure to it, or,
No, they already did. They already,
well,
Well,
they
they
tiered
suggested.
it, or they suggested it, right? How does the process work from here?
I
think
haven't seen,
They put it in what, tier
What you
8 or
ended.
something? Does that
I
make
thought it
sense?
was 9.
yeah, I think
8 or
well,
9?
they'll take a look and see if it's, still stays in the tier, which I'm sure it will.
Okay.
Or can we change it? Whether it goes
To-
lower or higher?
Well, there's a thing called the Fair Equity Pay Act, and
Yeah.
you really do have to have the pay in line with exactly what the job description is and the duties are. Can you say more about that, Mr. Lemansky? Is there something you have in mind? I can communicate that back to the personnel board.
No, not at this time. Again, I just wanted to know what the rules are, as far as what we have to do, what we can do, what we can't do.
Yeah, I've been getting quite a few things from the different attorneys around sending out information on the Pay Equity Act. And towns the Attorney General is getting quite active in reviewing salaries to make sure that they're equal.
Well,
We're even gonna have to look at, within our interdepartmental, when you just had to look at jobs that were alike, now you have to go across departments and see if they're like abilities to make sure they're paid fairly.
Relative to that town?
No, to even our town.
No, relative to a town similar to our town?
Within our town and to towns similar.
Town similar, okay, but we wouldn't be compared to Framingham.
No.
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 No, we use the 10 towns that are surrounding us.
Not that no one's trying to be unfair, again.
Did you want to go higher or lower, or what did you,
that's
did
one-
you want to range? What did
can
you want to
always-
do?
well, that's what I was,
You can always
that's
go
what my
higher.
thought, like, I think
Because
that,
I think there is a range.
okay, because like, I think that came in at what, like 70 or 80,000 or something like that. But I just don't know how you post it, like, hey, it's a range from 70 to 80,000.
Most likely, I think what will happen is that they'll post the range, and then that gives you an ability, depending on their education.
Yep.
I mean, if it's someone that's been in another town and is towards the end of their career and they've been a water sewer superintendent, they would, and have all their licenses, then they would claim higher one than someone that is a good project manager. If you
Absolutely.
chose to hire someone like that.
Don't you just say paid commensurate with experience?
You do, but you generally give a range.
Yeah,
And
so that
we can
way,
have a conversation about whether or not we put that in the post.
okay. So do we need a motion or anything to kickstart this to the next process? don't
I
so,
think
right?
if you've approved it, and now the minutes will reflect that it should go to the personnel board, so you can just make that request of me, and I'll take this and
Steve?
forward it up.
Thank you.
Alright.
Okay, if you can email me that. Thank you. Well, good luck. I hope you get someone
I hope so
on
too.
board quickly. Is there anything else for me?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin, that's not a union, right? That's a,
It's non-union.
Non-union.
It would be under the personnel board, and they'd be salaried.
okay, so,
So it
It's
would
like
be based
Steve.
on 40 hours.
Yep.
And, yes.
okay, thank you.
No, it's not based on Steve.
Well, it's a town employee.
Steve is hourly, so you pay him time and a half. This would be
Well,
salary,
yeah.
so if they're here at night and during the day or the weekends, you're paying one salary.
Okay, thank you.
Which is why it tends to be higher.
Alright. I think the only outstanding thing we have on our whole business is senior discount review. Did we already do that?
sent. What we
Sent.
need is whether you liked it, don't
Oh,
like it, or
okay.
what you,
I didn't, this is the one you sent out last week?
it's been out for, since
My weeks are
February.
blended. Did everybody else look at this?
Isn't it the same one that goes out
I
every
gotta
time?
find it here in my pile.
Right? Isn't it the same one that goes out every
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good with it. Anybody else have any, somebody that voted, so we can,
I guess I would ask,
Make the
Mr. Chairman, as a question to Steve. Steve, of the people who you talk to, the seniors who are taking advantage of this discount, do they have some questions? Or do they have some concerns? Or what are some of the comments that they say if in fact they're not eligible?
I haven't talked to anybody that wasn't eligible.
Okay?
There are a couple of issues that are readdressed in here, and that is,
they're more font and alignment, right?
if what, please?
It's more font and alignment kind of stuff.
Yeah, but the questions that have come up is, for example, if I put my estate into a fund to protect them when I die, then by the law that's there, you have to own the property, has to be in your name, so if it's in the name of,
Or a trust or whatever?
of a trust, they're not eligible for the discount.
Okay.
The requirements as to proving residency. If somebody's got a license in Florida and they come in and they're looking for a discount, they can't get a discount. So those are the two things that have come and gone, and I think those were addressed in this issue. Besides that, there was some double standards relative to when this thing was due. There was language in there that said you should fill it out, need to fill it out by the end of December. What is our year? Our year runs July 1st to June 1st. So we deleted the December, and the year that we deal with is the physical year we're dealing with, which is July 1st.
Instead of
to
fiscal
June.
year.
Instead of fiscal year, right.
So,
So those are the changes that were there, and there was some unclear statements which were cleared up.
Mr. Chairman, Steve, what's the monetary guidelines?
There's a max of $200 a year.
What about the income guidelines?
There's no income guidelines.
There's no income guidelines.
No.
So
Yeah.
if you're over 65, you can apply for this.
Yes,
And you can, as long as, it's 15% as far as the discount.
yes,
up to $200.
up to $200,
Up
yes.
to $200.
And only one house. You can't, if you own multiple properties,
Yeah.
you get a discount on one piece of property.
Okay. You have to live in the property?
Yes,
Okay,
has to be your primary residence.
very good. Okay. So, it's good information.
Right.
And this, I see no reason to change it. Do we need a vote to go forward to?
Motion on the vote, right?
Okay, I
And
make a motion to go with the as-printed, discount for elderly persons.
I'll second that.
All right, got a motion and a second, any more discussion on it? Hearing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously.
I guess the question I have, Mr. Chairman, is on the data that was in it was a memorandum that was
Yeah.
in a file here. I think as we all know, is that there's an issue out there of, call it whatever you want to call it, but Beta is having a problem as far as calibrating the model because of these pressure swings.
Yeah.
So, I guess, what can we do about it? Or what can we ask Southbridge to do about it? Or do we try to brainstorm this ourselves and come up with a plan of getting this under control? And furthermore, should we make sure that this issue is taken care of before we would go and accept the system as far as being a consecutive water supplier.
Well, to your last question, absolutely. As far as what we can do at this point, we can only return to Southbridge and see what they're doing. The latest I heard was, I think Chris said at the last meeting, they'd gone to where the company they use, and he,
Something flow.
yeah, Flow Right or something.
Flow Right.
Flow Right.
Fluoride. And Fluoride supposedly worked on that PRB in front of City Power.
Right. I haven't gone by there recently, but I know up until the point of that meeting, that there was still water cascading down the road. Says to me, there's still a problem with the PRV. If it was me, I'd go directly to most of those valves are East Coast or Ross, right out of New York. And Ross will send a technician out to look at their equipment.
Okay, so because of Fluoride, I believe is a vendor of Southbridge.
Right.
So do we go to Fluoride and say, look, obviously this is over your head, or do we say, do you need to bring in?
It's not our system. How can we direct them to do it?
But.
And I'm not being
No,
sarcastic
no,
in
no,
saying that.
no, that's okay, that's okay. But these swings are affecting the equipment that's in the ground,
Mhm.
which on a long-term basis, will definitely affect us. And also, if something blows and it's a major event, then we're responsible for it.
I know Chris is licensed. Through Chris and some of Beta's staff, maybe they can get in as another opinion in this, to look at it.
Okay.
Beta has a pretty strong background in modeling and whatnot. Chris is licensed, he can actually look at the, get in, and if you can get permission, even if Southbridge is there, maybe.
Well, technically, we own the infrastructure, so we
No,
could,
no, that's
Yeah,
right.
but they're the operator of the system.
yeah, but we could still make improvements to our, I mean, they would be there, and we'd
We
notify
can't
them.
do anything, and this,
Yeah,
we're not licensed, they're the licensed operator. This is where it all this is where it all comes back full circle. So if something was to go wrong without a licensed person there, we're sitting there holding the bag for the repairs, because we're not licensed. So, I'm not splitting hairs with you,
Yeah,
but
no,
that's where the licensing
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
comes into
yeah,
play.
Right, but, under the licensing board, are PEs already licensed?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Again, I thought I remember reading that years ago, but I
P-
hear what you're
Ps
saying.
and people with bachelor's degrees don't necessarily have to follow the criteria of how much time in the system before they get their license in full, but they still have to obtain the license.
Okay. But we're in agreement. I guess the next, just to move this quickly, is when do we start kicking and screaming, saying this needs to get done?
Well, considering we can't complete a large portion of the hydraulic modeling, which I think also Kleinfelder was somewhat waiting for their design and what they were doing. I think now's about the time someone
Okay, so should we?
bangs on a door and says,
Yeah.
enough's enough, this needs to be dealt with. Let's come together on this.
Because this is holding up the master plan.
Yep.
And if we don't have the master plan done in time, we're gonna be losing all these grants. So should we be directing our administrator to call Southbridge and talk to Mr. Gregoire over there and saying,
But I
look,
think your last conversation with him, you were told you needed to pay for any results because.
Relative to the work they did in town.
Right.
Yes.
Which.
oh, we would have to pay for.
Yep,
For the
Flora?
summary of the report, yes. We
Yep.
need to outline the report, tell them what we wanted, they would do the report, they'd bill us for it. They are under no contractual obligation
Uh,
to produce the report
Okay,
that we're looking for.
Mr. Chairman, again, help me out here. If there's a defective piece of equipment within the system,
Yep.
and then we make them aware that it's defective, aren't they responsible for those repairs of which is part of the operation?
Mhm.
So maybe we should take it from that point of view of, that's our,
But I think they're taking it from the point of view we don't have a contract with them.
Why could we go to DEP and say our operator isn't fixing our system?
there you go, that's not a bad thought. But I think, to be fair, is,
Well,
we
that's,
should put them on notes.
before we,
Kick
let's see if
anyone
Chris, yeah, let's see if Chris and Beta can come to a better point to go. And this is what these guys do in modeling and
A
whatnot.
better point to go to.
Instead of us banging heads with Southbridge and or jumping and tugging on DEP and saying, let's see if they can come up with a better sales
Soft
pitch.
approach.
Yeah, softer approach to take Paul's.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you need to know your leverage and where it's at.
No,
Not
I
saying you
understand
have
that,
to
but
use it.
before we come out with the big guns right off, you know,
Okay,
so,
we could executive session this evening, Mr.
I
Chairman?
think we covered,
Yeah,
We're all
we did.
set?
yeah, I think we covered everything that was.
Motion to adjourn?
Still got 3 more items under new business.
Kill Joe.
What we got?
The hydrant, November 22. We've been fighting and spending a lot of time talking to the insurance company. They piecemealing us to death. Talked with 2 contractors. They said, look, Charlton is doing this backwards. Go get it fixed and send them the bill. That's what I'd like to do. So the bill,
Who are the two contractors you're talking?
talked to Jennings and I talked with R.H. White's.
Get her done. And then we,
But I need your permission to use, to bill them, because I'm probably gonna have to pay the bill when it comes in. That funds would come out of the $50,000 we have underwater. So but the money would be back. That's what I'm saying.
Can we get a third quote in there too?
Sure. The next one was Glenmere. We discussed it early on. That street is being resurfaced July 10th. I've already gone to 2 people, quote, the servicing of the gate valves, blowing it out, and also if there's anything here that's defective, if the valves don't work, they gotta fix it.
There's no water over there, right?
I understand there's no water over there.
What was the
But
last part of that? If anything's defective?
if anything's defective and not working, it needs to be fixed.
If there's no water in it, we can't tell whether it's working.
Well,
No.
if you try to put a wrench on it, can't turn it, that's telling you something, right?
To turn in the right direction? I'm not.
No, I understand, you're right, no, you're right.
It's our system, it's, you know,
Yep.
what are our direction of close and open? You don't even know.
I'd have to look at the print. No.
Yeah.
But the thing is the, if water comes down there in 5 years, then you can go through the road and fix it and get in there. But if it happens between now and 5 years from now, you're not gonna be able to get back into the road,
Why?
because it's surfaced. You can't touch the road for 5 years. Unless you go to the Board of Selectmen, and you know.
Okay.
So, that's my,
Private contractors.
yes.
There's problem in our water pipes, we're not waiting 5 years.
Pardon me?
So if there's a problem in our water pipes, we're not waiting 5 years.
Right.
I promise you that. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Suggestion, looking for permission to push it.
I just
Either
take
yes
that
or no.
last piece out of it, which is the, well, you can't take it out, but.
Highway asked a question, they're looking for an answer, he sent an email, I've got to respond to the email. A yes or no, or maybe. I did because of time, I
How many gates is it?
think there's 7. That's what I counted when I was out there,
So it's a half day's work at best.
probably. I don't have the quotes back, but I did start the ball running because I knew we were meeting now, and
Right.
this is the last meeting this year, so.
and where does the water cross Route 20 there? Does it cross it?
I
coming
believe-
Out of that intersection, then across?
No, it's, in that particular section, the water is on the north side of 20. Because
Actually,
it comes up that corner, goes to the hydrant, then goes to Glenmere. And then it goes down to Oxbow.
actually, when you're on 20 heading into Auburn, so you'd be going east.
Yep.
There's a hydrant, looks like it's all ready for high water that's sticking out of the ground on the right-hand side, right in front of Paul Dowse, okay? then it goes up, and I think there's another hydrant on 20 on the right-hand side. Then it crosses somewhere,
It does, because our water station is on the south side of 20,
correct.
so it crosses, yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the map
Okay,
to see where it
again, I
crosses.
think it crosses close to that, the Glenmere intersection.
I worked on that. I kinda think you're right. I kinda think it came right straight across Glenmere and went up to the pump station, but that's a long time ago. I'm not
Because I know
positive,
there's a tap right in front of,
The pump station.
well, no, not the pump station, I'm talking about, almost on Bay Path Road.
And there was some
Stuck a dead line.
concern that some of the guardrail I-beams might have punctured the pipe on Glenmere.
Glenmere,
Right
it's
across
a-
from Helgerson's there, like Curtis
Just
Avenue.
right across from Helgerson's, right.
just
Oh,
before you
down by
leave
the
in
little
town.
car dealership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't even like see the road, it looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
crack.
no, there is a hydrant down there.
Hydrant on the right-hand
Yeah,
side, right,
yeah.
right.
Right
Yeah, so
past
that's-
Curtis.
So it actually crosses there. And that whole intersection, another 2 years is gonna get done by the state.
So what's your point?
I don't know, again, there's gonna be repaving again, and also they're gonna be doing something special with Glenmere. I think it's gonna turn into a right-hand turn only.
Glenmere is a right-hand turn. Oh, yeah, it is already. When you come out of Glenmere
I've
to
taken
Route
a-
20, you gotta turn right, you gotta go
Doesn't mean
westbound.
you follow the law, Rob.
No, I'm telling you, there's no sign there.
Yeah, but you
Right, or
can't-
maybe I better
it's
put
a-
my glasses
It's a
on.
divided highway, you can't go across highway. The only way you get to Glenmere is to go up Oxbow.
It's not divided there.
It's
My
right
family
after.
owns the land across the street. I'm telling you, it's not divided
I
there.
agree with Rob. I don't think it's divided there
It
either.
just passed it, as soon as you go past it, they just put the divide in.
Right, and that's where some people do U-turns to go pick their dog up and almost get killed. Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I went down there, I went up Oxbow.
It's
Oxbow all
close.
the way to Glenmere, then out to Route 20 and came back this way.
And you took a right.
Yeah, coming out of,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which is the safest way to go.
Yeah.
In fact, when my son lived over on Bay Path across the street, they would never go out, that way. They'd go all the way around
Yeah.
and come out at Richardson's Corner, just.
So
Safe.
what can I do relative to Glenmere and having those water fixtures blown out, looked at and fixed?
Well, all you can do is get them blown out.
No repairs?
They're paving, right?
Yes.
They having a casting crew come in and do the castings?
They're gonna have to, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah,
So if we need to pick up, what'd you say, 7?
yeah,
7 top sections and covers for them,
yeah.
that'll be part of the bill for whoever blows out the gates. Just, all they gotta do is blow them out, make sure you get on them, make sure the boxes aren't kicked,
Right.
and that's,
Right. So I can pursue,
yeah,
okay.
So that's the plan? We're all set.
yeah.
Question is, earlier, was there any discussion about the paving in front of the treatment plant right now in all of those catch basins, not catch basins, but manholes that are being raised? That should our sewer department be checking every one of those to make sure that they haven't been interfered with and that they're still totally sealed up on the inside?
Have they raised the or are they
They're
just
doing it
milling?
right now.
Yeah, but they just mill around them.
Yeah,
That's what I was
No,
asking.
but they're
why-
raising them.
I heard they're raising them today, and I'm questioning, why were they raising? Did they not mill as deeply as the new coat coming back or something?
when I talked to the contractor, which was a week ago, coming in, I asked them what they were doing. They said they're milling 2 and they're putting 2 on the ground. What they are replacing is the manhole covers. They're going to a Loctite, a locking mechanism.
On ours?
Yes.
And all the manholes that are in that road, they're gonna
Yes.
become locking.
And there's one of them, Gabe, you're in it, it's what, 22 feet deep? You know the one that got
Oh.
clogged up,
Yeah,
right in front of Carpenter Hill
I don't know
Road?
if it's that deep, but it's all 15, 16.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it's 2
right.
stages.
Remember we did
So the point being-
lose that
We had-
manhole
yeah.
a couple of years
That was
ago.
a mess.
We should have our guys just making sure, pop those covers and make sure everything's just perfect.
Okay.
But
Okay.
now's the time,
Okay.
okay?
I'll touch up with Keith tomorrow.
But, I would double check on that, cause Matt Dot usually doesn't touch, town's infrastructure.
Well, wait a
They,
minute. Now-
all their catch basins and manholes will probably be locked down, no doubt in my mind about that.
That's what he said.
That's what they've done, but they're probably not gonna do that with ours.
Probably just raise them.
They're just gonna raise them and reset them.
But some towns got their own special brands and.
Right, but Alex, if in fact that milling machine bumped one and skewed it.
No,
then that's
I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm not disputing what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're taking castings out and doing an overlay, and then
Yeah.
come back and raising them to the 2 inches.
Gotcha.
So there's no point looking at them right now, unless
It's
they
just-
removed them.
Just to check to see if they bump one and there's any damage.
They would've known.
No better way than to lift up the cover. They got that nice magnetic thing and the little lever. I was watching them do that. That's kinda cool. It's a pretty good magnet. Wish I had one of those when I was a kid.
Lastly, I've got more than 40 hours. I've got 82 hours left, which I'm not gonna get. But I'd like to carry 40 hours over into next year.
No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were gonna wait, I thought you were gonna do it
Really?
before I came.
You haven't got there. Haven't got there. So,
I make a motion to allow Steve to carry his 40 hours into fiscal year 2018.
I'll second.
17? Is it
18,
18?
July 1st.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion?
Is it 40 hours or 80 hours, Steve?
I can only carry 40. I've got 82 left,
Okay.
so, but that's my fault.
Get better at that.
All right, got a motion and a second, any more discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes. Did truck lease, did 13 J Ham Road,
That's been signed.
yep. So we've covered everything, right?
Yep.
The truck lease has been signed?
Yeah, we voted to,
Yeah, I remember.
you guys voted. We didn't.
Did they actually write us a check for $1?
That's a good question. I'll have to look.
Well, I mean, legally.
No,
maybe they
you're
have
right.
to,
No,
you know.
you're right. You're right.
Any other motions?
We just make a motion to adjourn?
I thought I had made the motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
I would
but
make
it
it again,
never got
motion to
seconded.
adjourn.
I think Paul seconded it.
Second it, yeah, I'll second it again.
All those in favor, our next
Aye.
meeting
Aye,
is
July 10th?
July 10th, 6:30 here.
Get her done. It's your birthday?
Your
When,
birthday?
today?
4th of July?
Oh, we already, you're good, going ahead. I thought it was like today.
How long have you known me?
Yeah, I know, man.
I was on your lake when I was born.